Well, we've made it through the first month of the 2023 Texas high school football season, and there has been no shortage of surprises and excitement. Well, tonight the plot thickens as we've got some big-time district matchups for you as we take you into week number 5 of the Texas high school football season. Hello and welcome into Dave Campbell's Texas Football Tonight here on the campus of the University of North Texas. Nick Lampasas alongside Ishmael Johnson, who joins us again. Ish, it's great to have you back here on the desk with us.
Yeah, they let me back. I thought I was fired for a couple weeks, 2 weeks, and I'm out of the desk, which is fair. Powers and Gavin are awesome. But we needed Gavin back on the mic, more importantly. I mean, that kid's talented. So they decided to call me back as the third string, which is okay. I'm definitely okay with that.
Well, anyway, again, we've had some incredible talent so far. Ish is back, and I tell you what, we've got some phenomenal games on tap tonight as we take a look at our spotlight games for week number 5. And like I was talking about, a lot of big district games, including some undefeated matchups coming up. We got Kirbyville and East Chambers. That's going to be a very fun matchup. Silsbee versus West Orange Stark. Lampasas versus Wimberley. Austin Westlake taking on Lake Travis. Duncanville versus Cedar Hill. Cedar Hill tries to bounce back after a tough loss against Waxahachie last week. Longview and Lancaster rounding us out in our spotlight games. And joining us later tonight, we'll have Gavin Moritz. He's on the call for Kirbyville versus East Chambers. James Tritley taking on the Euless Trinity and North Crowley game. Ryan Fox on the headset. New Braunfels versus Pflugerville Weiss. We have James and Charlie from SETX Sports will be on the call for Silsbee and West Orange Stark. So again, we'll be hearing from those guys throughout the night. A lot of very exciting games and some big-time undefeated showdowns early on in the year, but if you had to pick one or two of those from that slate of games, what are those that catch your eye?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a Central Texas Austin guy, and so you can't go wrong with the Battle of the Lakes, Lake Travis versus Westlake. Lake Travis already better than their start last year, where it wasn't up to their standard, 7-5. Coach Hank Carter, of course, it's kind of reinvented that offense a little bit. They're a little bit more running now. Caden Leon's more of a dual threat than maybe every quarterback they've had probably since Hudson Card. But also, I want to go down to the Golden Triangle with Silsbee and West Orange Stark. Last year, how about the Hickman's first year? He's been there since 2016, so he's known the program. He was the defensive line coach prior to that, but not up to their standard at all at West Orange Stark. This is a chance to really potentially make some noise, taking on probably the favorite in Region 3 in Silsbee, and one of my favorite players to watch in the state, Draylon Miller. We'll be talking about him as we check into those games. So those are the two that I would probably pick, but like you mentioned, all 6, there's something to pull from each one of them.
Lots of fun games on tap tonight. And before we get into the Friday slate, some action earlier in the week as well, Monday through Wednesday. How about this? Our very own Ish Johnson honored the Creators of Color. How about that? 2023 honoree cohort board there with #sports. Hey, you got to escape the heat a little bit as you went up to Minneapolis, St. Paul. Congratulations. It's well-deserved. And just kind of take us through a little bit of that trip. It looked like a lot of fun.
No, it was awesome. Shout out to my 3 cohort. We throw up the 3 over here for the third year. But no, it was awesome. Got to meet some incredible people. Thank you to Minnesota, all the pro teams in Minnesota, the Vikings, the Timberwolves, Lynx, the Twins, the Wild, everybody. They were incredible hosts. We got to tour facilities, network with some really cool people, but most importantly, got to meet some pretty cool people in this industry. Anybody watching this, sports media is more than just us here. It's even more than just people behind the scenes who do a lot of great work. There's so many things that go into sports media. And you got to see a really rounded cohort of everybody that does something.
Well, it's fantastic. Awesome. And again, well-deserved. Congratulations again on the honor. So that was a lot of fun. Yeah. Man, busy week for you. Monday through Wednesday up there, back here for
I was at Texas State's home opener on the weekend. So I went from there to the airport. It's been crazy. So, but I'm here. I'm ready. I'm ready to
now we're
back on the desk.
Back Friday night. Lots of great games, but we had a couple of good ones last night as well. As we take you down to Pflugerville, Texas, we had a fun matchup that came down to the wires. Belton and Pflugerville. We jump ahead to the first quarter. How about this? Reese Rumsfeld. He's a senior. The quarterback using his legs, 52 yards to the house, and that got Belton on the board first. Made it 7-0. In the first. Belton would tack on to their lead in the second. This time, Rumfield able to make the pass with Sean Snap, as Snap takes it the rest of the way, 22 yards, and that opened up a 14-0 lead for Belton. As we stay in the second quarter, you're going to get Pflugerville an opportunity now. They've got the ball inside the red zone, trying to get something on the board. And this is going to be a guy to watch. The sophomore quarterback, Cole Taylor, steps back. He gets some good protection there. And a nice touch pass. How about that? Over the defender, connecting with Kyron McFrazier for 19 yards. And that got Pflugerville on the board. And that made it 14-7. Sticking in that second quarter. It was a wild second frame in that game. And this time it's going to be Ryder Miller. How about this? The offensive line just opening up a huge hole for him, and he's going to take it 87 yards as Ryder Miller that time finding the end zone. And that made it 14-13 going into the halftime break. Belton would tack on a touchdown in the third. Jumping into the fourth, though, Cole Taylor this time. How about this? A 30-yard connection with Kyron McFrazier, and that makes it a 21-19 game. Late in the fourth, it's going to be Diego Coleman, 23 yards as he connects from Reese Rumsfield, and that would finalize the 36-19 win for Belton over Pflugerville. We had Tommy Yarish on the call in Pflugerville last night as we go to him for his instant reaction.
37-19, your final score here from the P Field. Belton moves to 5-0 and 1-0 in district play, taking down Pflugerville 37-19. The Panthers move to 0-5 on the season, looking for their first victory next week against Killeen. A little bit of a slow start for both of these teams offensively, especially throughout the first quarter. Both teams really struggling to move down the field. I think we went about 6 possessions without getting a first down on either side, and then Belton started to find their rhythm. Reese Rumfield breaks open a 51-yard touchdown to open the scoring, and then it was all his show the rest of the way. Ended up with 4 offensive touchdowns, 3 of them through the air, 1 on the ground. Pflugerville held around in this game. They cut the lead to 1 and then 2 going into the fourth quarter. Had a chance to drive down the field, didn't make a fourth down conversion. That ended up being the nail in the coffin as Reese Rumfield came back and found his tight end, Diego Coleman, on a touchdown. And then to put insult to injury at the end of this game, Belton gets a pick 6 from Alton McCallum to end this game and win it 37-19. Belton comes into Pflugerville and ruins homecoming night. Plus, they move to 5-0, their best start under Brett Sniffen in his 4th season as head coach.
And again, a thank you to Tommy Yarish, who was on the call for that game last night. So that was a wild second quarter. Pflugerville coming back, making it interesting. Belton able to escape with the win. Your thoughts on that one?
I mean, it's got to be Belton, 5-0. Yeah. Like, this isn't a blue blood that you would typically consider a powerhouse in this classification, but Brett Sniffen's team looks for real. They have a shot to go unbeaten in the regular season. I do want to hint, there was I won't say controversy, but there were some people kind of turning their had some opinions when Belton went for 2 when they were up 2 scores. I do want to give credit to Billy Gates from KXAN. So they went for 2, and I want to read this correctly. The district has a tiebreaker rule that has something to do with point differential, right? Everybody has their own tiebreaker rules. Theirs caps out at 17, so they want to try to max that out as much as they could. Again, shout out to Billy Gates who kind of put that into context, because I know some people were like, why are they going for 2? They're up 2 scores. If there's seedings, all this thing, like they'll be in the playoffs, don't worry. But seedings, all that stuff get determined by these little minute details. So
can never leave it up to chance.
Exactly, no, 100%. Like you'll see tiebreakers with point differential, with head-to-head, all these different things. So there's some context behind if you were a little questioning on that 2-point conversion call.
All right, good. I like it. I like some of the behind-the-scenes stuff. All right. Well, we got some more action from last night, and then we'll also take a look at a program trying to build their way up into the right direction. That's coming up on the other side of the break. This is week number 5 of Texas Football Tonight.
There's only one state in the nation with 13 Division I FBS programs, and there's only one podcast that talks about every single one of them. Introducing the Dave Campbell's Republic of Football podcast, the most complete coverage of the Lone Star State. Join host Ishmael Johnson, Carter Yates, and Mallory Hartley live on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook on Wednesdays at 2 p.m. for the biggest news and weekly previews on all Texas FBS programs. Can't catch every college football game on Saturdays? We've got you covered with recap episodes Sunday mornings with senior writer Mike Craven checking in. Subscribe everywhere you get your podcasts, including Spotify and Apple. Strap in with your host Ishmael Johnson, producer Mallory Hartley, senior writer Mike Craven, and college writer Carter Yates for a ride that'll last from now throughout the season.
Need your daily football fix? Look no further than Texas Football Today, the daily live show from the people that bring you Dave Campbell's Texas football. Every weekday at noon, Greg Tepper and Ashley Pickle bring you the latest news, deep dive analysis, insightful interviews with big-name guests, and more. And if you ever miss an episode, you can subscribe to the Texas Football Today podcast to keep up with all the fun. Don't miss Texas Football Today every weekday at noon at texasfootball.com, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch, and subscribe to Texas Football Today wherever you get your podcasts. Nobody covers Texas high school football like Tep and Step, the premium high school football podcast from Dave Campbell's Texas Football. Dig deep into the sport in every corner of the state with high school football insider Matt Stepp and managing editor Greg Tepper, with game previews, unique insights, and bold predictions. Get Tep and Step by becoming a Dave Campbell's Texas Football subscriber at texasfootball.com/subscribe.
We might not be good at many things, but there is one thing that we crushed, and that's naming a stinking podcast. WTF. Yes, it's exactly what you're thinking. Women talking football. Oh, you thought it meant something else? You might be right. Tune in every Thursday at 2 p.m. as me, Ashley Pickle, and everyone's favorite Mal pal, Mallory Hartley, bring you in-depth analysis of every region of the Lone Star State, talk ball with reporters across Texas, get the real scoop from coaches' wives, and all the other nonsense that comes along with the two of us being allowed to talk into a microphone. Join the party Thursdays at 2 o'clock on the Dave Campbell's Texas Football YouTube page.
All right, Central Texas in the field wasn't the only Thursday action we had. Let's go to Darrell Tully Stadium down in Houston. Cy Ridge taking on Houston Northbrook. Let's jump right into the action before we get to Chase Snyder, who was on the call. Starting here in the first quarter, running back Keon Barnes, 7 yards up the middle, puts the Rams up 6-0. Both teams looking for their first win of the year. This is Elijah Brown in the second quarter, 3 yards right up the gut. 13-0, all Rams so far. And if this is a little hint, yeah, it's going to be all Rams again. This time, Evan Klintz, play action, going deep, just throws it up for Keyshawn Monroe, and he just gets through two defenders, stiff arms another man, dragging another guy. Can he get there? Yes, he can. Crosses the goal line. It is 19-0, Cy Ridge all over Northbrook. And why not? Let's give it to Klintz again. I formation, sets it up, and he's just going to throw it up for his man, Evan Stroman. 27 yards, gets to the corner of the end zone, breadbasket throw, perfect. 29-0 for Cy Ridge over Houston Northbrook. Our man Chase Snyder was on the call. Let's take it to him right now.
Hi there, Chase Snyder here with you from Dave Campbell's Texan Live, where I just got home from Tully Stadium in Houston, where I just got back from our Thursday Spotlight game of the week between the Cy Ridge Rams and the Northbrook Raiders. Both teams coming into this game tonight 0-3 on the season, but of course, it is the first game of district play. 17-6A play to be exact, and Cy Ridge went home with the victory tonight, 26-0. There were a lot of penalties in this game. Both of those coaches, Coach Shanley from Cy Ridge and Coach Gomez from Northbrook, would obviously like to clean those up. 26 accepted penalties in the game, and there were multiple unsportsmanlike conduct penalties in the game as well. They want to get that fixed. But Cy Ridge definitely has themselves a weapon in Keyshawn Monroe, who caught a 61-yard touchdown pass tonight. Cy Ridge improves to 1-3 on the season. Northbrook drops to 0-4. It's going to be interesting to see how both these teams continue on in 17-6A play.
All right, again, a big thank you to Chase Snyder on the call, and a happy birthday to Chase, celebrating a birthday tonight. Hopefully we'll be able to get him in. I know he's celebrating the birthday, I'm sure, his ideal way, being out on the field.
He's on the road, man.
But yeah, again, Cy Ridge, that's a good win for their first win.
Sure.
We've seen them a few times on the show, and that's just good for them to get that first one in the column.
Yeah, their defense really struggled to start this year, giving up, I believe, 32, 53, and 43 points in their first three games. So to get a shutout win over Houston Northbrook, again, Northbrook, you'll hear in a little bit, they're building up their own program, right? They got their first win, snapping a 41-game losing streak last season. This is an upstart program, but regardless, if you're Cy Ridge, you want to get off the snide, right? You want to be able to get your season going, especially now entering district play. So getting them off the ground, in my opinion, their offense, the defense getting a confidence boost like this, you can't really measure that in terms of how positive it will be for them.
And again, you look at the other side. Each week we bring you some of the best showdowns in the Lone Star State during our spotlight games, but no powerhouse program is built overnight. Sometimes you've really got to go through some of those growing pains to get to the top, and that's just a part of the process of building up a program, and that's exactly where Houston Northbrook and their head coach Andres Gomez find themselves, as Gavin Moritz was able to chat with him earlier this week.
When Andres Gomez got to Northbrook from Klein Cain back in 2020, he brought with him a freshness that the program desperately needed. And now in 2023, Coach Gomez is working day in, day out to get Northbrook into contention.
Coach Gomez's love for football dates all the way back to his playing days at Katy High School under the legendary Mike Johnston.
Well, I mean, it gave me an example of what I should be, what a head coach should be, what a football staff should be. You know, besides Coach Johnston, there was some incredible assistant coaches on the staff. Like Don Clayton, Chris Massey, my freshman year, Dan Schreiber was on the staff. So there's a lot of big name coaches that were at Katy at the time that, kind of helped mold me in different ways. And so just seeing the example of how they ran an off season, how they ran a practice, how the expectations that they set for us players, the way they did things, the way they showed up every day, just all of those things, that was the only way that I knew. When I started coaching, it was a little bit of a shock to find out that not everybody does things the way Katy does. So it was, I realized how fortunate I was to come up in that system where the expectations were always high. And that was even before Katy was the juggernaut that it is now. We were just starting to kind of start that journey of just elevating the program. My freshman year, the team went to state and lost to Plano, and that was the first time, in a long time that they'd been that far. So we got to see just kind of how that foundation was set before us, and just how the expectations just never wavered. And I think that's something that every coach can really hang on to, and just the little details of running a program were always just things that now I look back and I see, okay, that's why they did things like that.
Andres Gomez knew from the time that he got into junior high that coaching was his path.
I did. I always wanted to coach and teach. That was something that it was never. My parents weren't. They're just hardworking people. That they were not in education. But I have two older brothers, and we all ended up going into coaching. And I think for me, I was probably in 7th or 8th grade. And I had some really good coaches in junior high that I thought, man, that's I want to be like that. I want to be as influential as these guys that are showing me how to be a man, how to be a student, how to be an athlete, like all those things. I was very impressed by that, and I knew that that's a path that I wanted to follow.
Helping open Klein Cain in 2018 was a learning experience for Coach Gomez and the Hurricane staff, especially during their first scrimmage.
The biggest thing was just again the details of building a program. It's something we still laugh about. That first year that we were open, we didn't realize how much you had to account for that you didn't think about before you were at a new school. And there's a great story that the Bridgeland opened the same year, and we scrimmaged them every year. And that first fall that we were open, we had our preseason workouts. We went out to the field. We're getting ready. Bridgeland's coming over to scrimmage us. And everybody's excited because we finally get to put a product on the field. And Coach Clancy hands me a bag and says, "Hey, go put that on the bench over there." And we look around and like, where are the benches? And so he looked. He said, "You know what? I didn't order benches. I didn't think about having to have benches on the sideline of a sub-varsity stadium." And he said, "Let's put that on the list. We got to make sure we have benches." And he said that we always use that to remind ourselves that they're just a school. It just requires so many moving parts. And so the attention to detail of making sure that everything's in place. Every level, every kid, every team has to have certain elements.
Last year's win over Aldine in Week 2 is both a
The best way to describe it was relief. It's something that we, the year before we played, I think 3 or 4 ball games where we were really close. We were in it. We lost a double overtime game to Spring Woods. We lost by less than a touchdown to Sam Rayburn. We lost by a touchdown to Sam Houston. So we had a lot of lot of close calls that first year, that second year, where we thought, we were finally going to get that monkey off our back of getting that win. So I think there was a lot of frustration, a lot of, there was a little bit of disconnect where they thought they were, the kids were working really hard and just not getting the results they wanted. And so, going into that year, playing, we played Baytown Sterling that first week, and we played a close game, just couldn't do much offensively and kind of struggled there. And so I think that there was a lot of frustration of, when is this actually going to happen? So, the Aldine game, we ended up, playing some really good football, in the first half. I made a couple of mistakes, towards the end, and there were some things that we wish we could have done differently. But in the end, coming up on top on the scoreboard there was just a big relief for our kids. They were excited, and they were happy to be able to finally just say, hey, we did this. We were able to achieve this. We were able to do this thing that we've been working on for so long. And it was something that they, unfortunately, we had the year before, we graduated a group of kids who the whole time in high school didn't see a varsity win. And it was and those kids, like I said, I felt bad for them, because they really did dedicate themselves to trying to move the program in the right direction, and they did. I said we played some really close games. They just didn't get that final score going in their favor. And so I think, but some of those guys that had graduated were at the game against Aldine, and they were in tears too. They knew that the work that they had put in had kind of leaked into the next year's team, and that the leadership that they had set forth had permeated through the ranks of the ones that are still there. And so they felt like that win was for them as well, and for all the work that they put in while they were here.
Fresh off of a bye week, the Raiders are refreshed and ready to battle with Cy Ridge on Thursday.
So last week we had our bye week, and it was, we try to, again, just kind of go back to some fundamentals and make sure that we're, our personnel was right. We had, a couple of kids that were a little banged up, so we try to get them healthy. We had some, just kind of back to the drawing board on offense and defense, and just simplifying things based on what we saw. We ran all the reports from non-district, all the things that we needed to see, and made some adjustments off of that. And then this week, the energy's been great. We've had 2 days where, number one, the temperature's been a little better. The whole preseason we had to deal with the heat restrictions and, what everybody else dealt with in the UIL, where, the temperature at a certain level, you had to, limit your practices or give them breaks, whatever. So that kind of interrupt the flow of practice, and we try to do something where, we have some tents out there, and, whenever they said, hey, you got to go into the tent, we brought some whiteboards, and we brought some, some little things out there where, we're just sitting around doing nothing. We were, going over what the next segment was going to be. We're going over some plays. We're going over some, covers, whatever. We try to use that time, if we had to be off the field taking a break, we try to use that time wisely so that we could still be learning or growing in some way. But this week, so the temperature dropped a little bit over the weekend with the rain. And so we've had, full practices, and we had, like I said, some of those kids got healthy, and we were very crisp. We did some, some stuff again to polish up what we've been working on during the bye week, and then a little bit of competition stuff against each other, and we had some really, really good energy. So we feel good about where we are. Like I said, we're still working on a couple of those injured players, trying to get them ready for Thursday, and if they can't go Thursday, then as soon as we can. But the guys behind them have been really good about stepping up. There's certain guys on the team that started off that weren't in the varsity locker room. They started on JV, and they've slowly kind of made their way up on the varsity level, and they're contributing. And that's one of the beauties of our program is that because of our numbers not being the same as some of the people that we face, there's nobody that doesn't contribute. Everybody on the team has a role. Everybody on the team has probably multiple roles, and so they all feel like they're contributing. There's very little dissent from people that aren't getting enough playing time. I mean, usually it's the opposite. Usually it's guys that are getting worn down because they're having to play multiple positions or every special team, and so we have we've had, like I said, some really, really good segments in practice. We've had some really good attitudes, some really good competition going on. So we're excited about tomorrow. And like I said earlier, we're gonna take it one step at a time. We're gonna try to limit our mistakes, try to be crisp on all three phases of the game, and just kind of keep them at bay and see if we can make something happen.
There's only one state in the nation with 13 Division I FBS programs, and there's only one podcast that talks about every single one of them. Introducing the Dave Campbell's Republic of Football podcast, the most complete coverage of the Lone Star State. Join host Ishmael Johnson, Carter Yates, and Mallory Hartley live on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook on Wednesdays at 2 p.m. for the biggest news and weekly previews on all Texas FBS programs. Can't catch every college football game on Saturdays? We've got you covered with recap episodes Sunday mornings with senior writer Mike Craven checking in. Subscribe everywhere you get your podcasts, including Spotify and Apple. Strap in with your host Ishmael Johnson, producer Mallory Hartley, senior writer Mike Craven, and college writer Carter Yates for a ride that'll last from now throughout the season.
Need your daily football fix? Look no further than Texas Football Today, the daily live show from the people that bring you Dave Campbell's Texas football. Every weekday at noon, Greg Tepper and Ashley Pickle bring you the latest news, deep dive analysis, insightful interviews with big-name guests, and more. And if you ever miss an episode, you can subscribe to the Texas Football Today podcast to keep up with all the fun. Don't miss Texas Football Today every weekday at noon at texasfootball.com, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch, and subscribe to Texas Football Today wherever you get your podcasts. Nobody covers Texas high school football like Tep and Step, the premium high school football podcast from Dave Campbell's Texas Football. Dig deep into the sport in every corner of the state with high school football insider Matt Stepp and managing editor Greg Tepper, with game previews, unique insights, and bold predictions. Get Tep and Step by becoming a Dave Campbell's Texas Football subscriber at texasfootball.com/subscribe.
We might not be good at many things, but there is one thing that we crushed, and that's naming a stinking podcast. WTF. Yes, it's exactly what you're thinking. Women talking football. Oh, you thought it meant something else? You might be right. Tune in every Thursday at 2 p.m. as me, Ashley Pickle, and everyone's favorite Mal pal, Mallory Hartley, bring you in-depth analysis of every region of the Lone Star State, talk ball with reporters across Texas, get the real scoop from coaches' wives, and all the other nonsense that comes along with the two of us being allowed to talk into a microphone. Join the party Thursdays at 2 o'clock on the Dave Campbell's Texas Football YouTube page.
Welcome back to Texas Football Tonight. We've got scores already in progress, and we're not too far deep into the show, but tell you what, we've already got some impressive scores so far. How about Duncanville, 35-0 over Cedar Hill? But we're taking a look at some of those scores right now. Anything surprising you, maybe aside from the Duncanville Cedar Hill, or do we go right to that one?
But no, the Lancaster kind of handling Longview early, I believe, from correspondence from our very own Matt Stepp saying is kind of a Lancaster one-sided round. Obviously, it's a one-score game, but he says Lancaster looks like the better team so far. But of course, I mean, that Duncanville score, I mean, they're getting right to business. That's why they're the reigning, defending 6A D1 state champions.
Wasting no time.
Yeah.
No time whatsoever. So we've got some fun games. North Crowley, Euless Trinity. How about this one? This red zone action.
Ooh.
Oh, going up. How about that?
Tapped the head a little bit, man. Oh my goodness, that's an emerging North Crowley program under second-year head coach Ray Gates. This is a team that made some noise last year. I believe made a regional final or regional semifinal, looking to make up. They lost a lot, and not a lot, but quite a bit to graduation, but still brought in a ton of guys. Quarterback Jemerson is kind of an emerging talent for them. Last year, he was saying this junior sophomore class is really special, and you could tell he really wanted that job, and you could see why what they did last year. I was just seeing averaging 61 points a game. I mean, come on now. 318 yards on the ground, 238 through the air. So Jemerson really hasn't had to be that air it out quarterback. He's able to contribute in the run game as well. I mean, sacks per game, 3.5. I mean, come on, you're going to be running from their edge rushers all the time. So yeah, North Crowley is a team. If you're not familiar yet, if you didn't pay attention last year, if you're just now hopping into the 6A scene, hey, who's a team that's kind of emerging as a state power? Check them out. Braylon Turner, of course, at linebacker. I mean, look, 113 tackles. He's on pace to hit that mark already. I believe he's at 50 or so through 3-4 weeks. So yeah, 88 solo tackles that you're seeing right there. I mean, this kid's a monster, and this defense is going to be the thing that they kind of hang their hat on. Just athletic all around.
Yeah, very exciting, and that was a nice little touch pass right
there.
Yeah,
corner of the end zone.
Corner of the end zone. So that game, exciting. We've got some highlights rolling in now. Now we start to get into
Let's do it. It's your first time watching. If you're first time watching, this is what the flow of the show is.
We have Cy Lakes and Cy Falls, and this one starts out with a very exciting play to start things off. How about this? Take it from the end zone. This is going to be 17, Tay Bernard. This guy is a free safety, and he's going to go all the way. 97 yards to the house. How about that for opening up a game?
Yeah.
And that makes it 7-0 Cy Falls early on. They'll take advantage. They get the ball back not too far or not too long afterwards. And how about that dime that time by Kyle Calicote? Able to connect with Cargile. That's a 20-yard pitch and catch for the touchdown. And Cy Falls piling it on. This time it's Chase Farrell, 33 yards, connection. And this time we've got Cy Lakes able to find the end zone. It's going to be a handoff to the outside. Javion Wolf is able to find the corner. So early on, Cy Falls a 21-7 lead. Now, that's a nice pass and catch, a couple of touchdowns there for Cy Falls. And how about that kick return? You can't ask for a better way to start out a game than with a 97-yard kick return for a touchdown. But again, we're going back into this one, Longview and Lancaster.
Ty, look at that.
Longview,
just like that.
Just like that.
I'll say this is a game that probably, if you're both teams, obviously want to win. If you're both teams, but for Lancaster more, this is a game that they probably need more. They have not picked up a win. This is a really disappointing year by their standards, based off what Leon Paul was able to do last year. I was actually at this game in Longview last year, and this kind of proved to me that things were going to be pretty okay, at least in year one, without Chris Gilbert, with Leon Paul taking over. But I mean, excuse me, they're 1-3. They're not winless. But still, 1-3 is still not their standard. This was the game that kind of let Lancaster show out to the state last year, hey, we're going to be one of the top teams in this state regardless of who our head coach is. Yeah. And if they come out with a big win like this to start district play, because this is, I mean, again, they'll probably make the playoffs as a district field if things go correctly, right? McKinney North looks really good. As you're seeing right now, they're going to be playing some teams. Of course, the district schedule kind of wipes all the records essentially clean. But regardless, you don't want to go into any stretch of the year with a winless streak or a losing streak, things like that. So if they come out and beat Longview at home, protect home field, but it's going to be hard. I mean, ever since Longview's first loss to McKinney to start the year, they've been on a roll, as you're seeing here. A very balanced attack with Taylor Tatum, their star running back who's committed to Oklahoma. 34.8 points a game. I mean, this is John King football. He's going to balance. He's going to have a balanced attack. Even though they lost Jalen Hale, 5-star wide receiver last year, it hasn't mattered offensively at least. They just kind of shifted priorities to make Taylor Tatum the new workhorse for them.
Yeah, for that one, you expect it to kind of go back and forth all night like you talked about just a little bit earlier. We had Matt Stepp saying that looked like early on Lancaster had the early advantage, but again, you expect that one to go back and forth. Again, North Crowley and Euless Trinity, that's a fun one. You were talking about that other one, Lake Travis and Westlake down there. It's an early start, but we go back North Crowley and Euless Trinity as we got some action inside the 10-yard line, able to barrel in.
Goodness. And is that Josh Bell? That might be Josh Bell from Euless Trinity, number 20. So me and Ashley Pickle were on the road to see him when Euless Trinity played Flower Mound Marcus, and that kid is a truck. He's only like 5'8", 5'9", 180, maybe 190. He's a truck. He's a workhorse, absolute menace, and they use that big offensive line, as you can see, 218 yards a game on the ground for Trinity. Of course, Crowley, we mentioned their rushing attack already, but do not underestimate Trinity. They have the size if they can kind of play their style of really in between the tackle football, they can kind of keep this within distance. They're not going to be as explosive as a North Crowley, as you're seeing Josh Bell here. 384 yards on the year. But I believe that is not including his he had over 300 yards on the ground against Flowermont Marcus, I believe. So he's probably approaching 700, a total 800 yards on the year.
Well, on that touchdown right there, you talk about he just can kind of barrel over guys. That
Yeah.
time shows off. He can juke you guys. He can juke someone out too. Is a little bit elusive there in the backfield. Nice play to find the end zone.
Yep.
As Westlake 7-0 over Lake Travis early on. Or actually, that's already into the second quarter of that contest. And again, Longview and Lancaster, you're expecting that one to kind of go back and forth throughout the entire evening.
Yep. By the way, I do want to say, as we check into Westlake and Lake Travis here, Westlake up 7-0. You know, if you're watching any of these games, you know, I like to do this, people that aren't familiar. If you're watching any of these games and you say, hey, I'm tired of those jokers talking over this footage. So I want to go in and listen to the game audio and watch this game in full, or tomorrow watch the game in full. Exactly. Go to Texas State, or go to TexasFootball.com, hit subscribe, and you'll be able to access all these games on demand, live, whatever. But for right now, we're going to give you a little taste of that, and we're going to go into the game audio for Westlake and Lake Travis.
You would think so. Here's Leone, short drop, looking, in trouble, steps up, he's going to run right into traffic, lost the football, it's loose, and it's still loose on the ground, and I believe that Colors has fallen on it, and the Cavaliers are going to end up getting a first down out of this.
Yes, they should.
Wow. Caden was just trying to force the issue and trying to get those extra yards.
For Longview, number 31, Kason Brooks. Brooks, the leading tackler on this defense, as he just picked up his 28th of the season. 2nd down and 9. Ball at the 39-yard line in Lobo territory. Going to fire it deep, and it's caught inside the 30. Pass completed. That was Emmanuel Choice. Going to mark him at the 29-yard line. Gain of 10, first down. Lancaster moving. 1st and 10, 29-yard line. Twin receivers to the left, single receiver to the right. Be a handoff to Lacey up the middle, and there he goes. Kewan Lacey, one man to beat, beats the safety, down inside the 10 as he is finally chased down by that appeared to be number 31, Kason Brooks again. Now be placed 1st and goal, the ball at the 6-yard line. Handoff to Lacey again. This time, Longview able to keep him from a long gain as he takes it down to the 3, or to the 4. It'll be 2nd down and goal from there. Twin receivers to the left. Kewan Lacey in the back with Carter Jones to his left. And up to Jones again, up the middle, stumbling forward as he takes it down to the 2. 3rd down and goal, as this time the stop was made by Jamerson Darrensboro. 3rd down and goal. About 9 minutes left to go in the first half. It's 14-all. Lancaster knocking on the door. Gonna take it himself on the Wildcat up the middle, and he is in. Touchdown Lancaster, and they regain the lead. On the carry that time was Isaiah Lee.
All right, so it looks like we've got, again, Westlake and Lake Travis, that one going down. Lancaster just able to find the end zone, though, so they get right back on top. But this is a fun game right here early on as Lake Travis is going to find the end zone. That's a tough run right up the middle, able to get to the outside a bit, but able to cross the goal line.
Yeah, this is a rivalry. I mean, again, if you're talking about premier programs in the Austin area, this is probably it. I was at one game, I believe the year before Cade Klubnik took over full-time for Westlake. But just 5 years ago, I mean, this Lake Travis was the one that held this rivalry down, right? And now Westlake's won, I believe, 3 out of the last 4, and this is kind of an uncharted territory for Lake Travis being kind of the underdog. Of course, last year, as you see, Lake Travis tacking on the extra point there. Last year, this game was 35-20 Westlake. Again, past couple years, it's been Westlake's rivalry, which is something that Lake Travis fans have kind of really started to get used to. It's like, man, of course, we saw with Todd Dodge's state title runs before retiring and handing the program off to Tony Salazar. Westlake's kind of been the little bit of a big brother. As we're going to take it back to last year, I mentioned that 35-20 win. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of the highlights of that one, because this is a game that's not few on major highlights, not few on major recruits, as you're seeing here.
Pass over the middle, complete touchdown. Sam Self from 16 yards out. His one to his right. Skinner looking, pressure coming, steps up. Skinner can run for it. Instead, he throws to the end zone. It's caught. Touchdown. Chambers with the touchdown. 28 yards. Brett Skinner looking, throws to the end zone, and it is a diving catch. Touchdown, Westlake. From the 23. Kaiser in the backfield. Handoff Kaiser, untouched into the end zone. Taven Lewis didn't get to him until after he crossed the goal. Tight set. And here's a pass to the end zone. It is caught back in the end zone. Touchdown, Sam Self. A leaping grab. And Lake Travis has scored a touchdown midway through the 4th. So they're trying desperately to get a fumble out of this. As Skinner goes back to pass, throwing to the end zone, has a man wide open. It's Greathouse, touchdown. The exclamation point.
So again, Westlake able to get that win last year. Ish, like you were talking about, it's kind of been their rivalry over the last couple of years, and you look at the disparity, especially there, the rush yards with Westlake 225 to Lake Travis's 87, total yards 336 to 283. And of course, that final score at 35-20. So again, this has been a rivalry, like you were mentioning, something that Westlake has kind of controlled over the last 5 years or so, and looks like it's a fun one. Again, another fun addition in that matchup.
Yeah, if you look at those stats, it wouldn't surprise you to see that 7-5 next to Lake Travis, right? That again, a season that wasn't up to their standard. The thing that's got to change, Lake Travis is always going to be known for spreading the ball around, right? Garrett Gilbert, Matthew Baldwin, all these quarterbacks that are sent to FBS, the D1 level. But it's going to be that rushing game. And I know it's hard to rush against Westlake. Tony Salazar is probably the best defensive mind in the state. But guys like Van Hopping, as we're seeing now, 255 yards on the ground, averaging 8.2 yards a carry. Lake Travis and Hank Carter have kind of reinvented their offense a little bit, like I hinted earlier. Caden Leone, 316 on the ground right now. He's their best dual threat since Hudson Card. Probably better as in terms of a running threat than Hudson Card. Hudson Card was a better passer, obviously, and that's kind of what made him the 5-star player. But also, Nico Hamilton, 200-plus yards on the ground for him as well. So multiple options for Hank Carter's team on the ground. Let's see if this is what can kind of be the difference in this game, because I mentioned Westlake, they may not be on defense, they may not be littered with stars on defense everywhere like you may see from a Duncanville or something, but they just know Tony Salazar just knows how to stop a run. He knows how to shut offenses down. And credit to Hank Carter for kind of throwing a new wrinkle, right? Mm-hmm. Known for being a spreaded out team. He says, you know what, we're going to have kind of a triple-headed running attack this year. And that's not just, he probably had Westlake in mind, but I think he also had Caden Leone in mind, knowing he has this gifted quarterback who may not be as gifted of a passer, but he can definitely use his legs.
Well, and it looks like so far Westlake, their offense off to a good start on this drive, looking for a response already near midfield. A strong defensive play that time, though, by Lake Travis brought him back just a couple of yards. But this is going to be a very fun matchup. We were taking a look at some of those other games, too. We had Wimberley and Lampasas. That's a 7-7 tie. And, of course, be taking a look at Longview and Lancaster all night long. That's a 21-14 lead for Lancaster at the moment there in the second quarter.
Yep. I will say one of these other games that I mentioned Lancaster and Longview. I was at that game last year. Wimberley and Lampasas are no strangers either. Yeah. We can see if we can pull highlights up from that game last year, because these two teams know each other pretty well. Lampasas down in Central Texas, of course, about an hour or so from Wimberley, maybe an hour and a half from Wimberley. I mentioned this is a big game for Lampasas, kind of reproving themselves as a potential state power, or state contender, I should say, with their best start since 2020. So let's take a look back at the 2022 game between Wimberley and Lampasas.
Snap. Flores, he's going to flip it out here to the near side. Caught at the goal line. Looks like it's in the end zone, and he is. Touchdown. Stover's got Johnny Ball to his left. Snap. Looking down the middle. Got a wide receiver open down the middle. Caught at the 5. Pushing in. Touchdown, Wimberley. Eli Dubuisson didn't drop that one. Texans are on the board. Just like you draw it a little bit. And, man, he is building it right here. Power football to the right-hand side. He's hitting the backfield. Still on his feet. Touchdown, Stover. A 9-yard touchdown for Cody Stover. They like running Stover to the right on this. They will run him to the right-hand side, and he'll have first down.
He's got a wide open
20,
field.
15, 10, 5, touchdown Wimberley. Cody Stover, third. Snap, they're looking down here to the near side. They're going for Stubbs. Caught at the 5-yard line. Pushing in, touchdown. That's Aiden Rasco. Touchdown Lampasas. So the penalty bites Wimberley. 3 wide receivers on the near. Keeps it on the right-hand side. Romo out in front of him. 5, touchdown Wimberley. Third of the night for for Cody Stover behind the block of Caden Romo. Snap, looking to the left-hand side. Now Flores is going to pick it up right up the middle. 5, hit at the goal line. Touchdown Lampasas. Hit at the goal line by Cody Heckle, but Flores will power it in for the 7 yards. Touchdown for Lampasas.
Wimberley with the 38-28 win a year ago. And again, you look at the disparity, especially, again, rush yards. 308 rushing yards for the Texans a year ago. 482 total yards to Lampasas 207. And again, Wimberley, they had a pretty good season themselves last year, 15-1. But looking at that matchup again, just some very lopsided numbers. But we'll take you back here, Lancaster and Longview. This has been a fun one to follow early on tonight.
Oh, my goodness. Okay.
Oh, he's in. Oh, wow. Okay,
wow.
All right. There we go.
Well,
that's
awesome.
Perfect. That's the perfect time to join.
This one, okay, I mean, I'll say this. When I was at this game last year, this one was very similar. Actually, no, it wasn't. I don't mind saying that. It was a defensive. It was a defensive game, a lot more defensive, and it was kind of a show of kind of both teams' athleticisms on both sides of the ball. This one looks like to be the complete opposite, right? It looks like just trading blows back and forth. Lancaster, whose offense has really struggled this year, really coming out. But also, I will say this is a little surprising because if you look at the roster for Lancaster, most of their guys, Corey and Gibson, all those guys are on defense, right? A lot of their highly touted prospects. So the fact that Longview is not afraid to just say, yeah, let's go, right? Let's take this game right to them. I mean, of course, the John King team, this is going to be a team that's going to be ready to go no matter what. But still, like, this is going to be an entertaining one. If I had to choose to be at one game tonight, right, it's probably going to be that one. Because if last year was any indication, we're in for a pretty big a classic coming up. And
this is a game where we were looking to maybe have a little bit of competitiveness there. But Duncanville, they just...
How about that? Just Decorian Moore right there. Oh my goodness. So he was I remember when they made the state championship 2 years ago, they lost that one, but he was a freshman and he was their number 1 premier wide receiver. And everybody was saying, watch out for this guy. So he is a 2025, I believe, for Duncanville, or excuse me, 2026. I can't remember exactly. But regardless, he is a dynamic player. Every length, size, speed, can attack the ball, run through open space. He can kind of do a lot, and I think the scariest part is he's still kind of putting size on, right? He's still not the biggest guy, probably, if you compare him to, like, of course, a Micah Hudson who's about to go to college in this time next year. But that means that there's more to put on him in his frame, and it looks like he has that kind of frame to be able to naturally put on more size. And I don't know, I think the fact that he's able to make plays like this and has been making plays since he was a freshman, and of course, Keelan Russell, quarterback for Duncanville, he now probably has the best quarterback he's played with now throwing him the ball. So, I mean, this Duncanville offense is scary, which is something you haven't always said about a Duncanville team.
And we take you now, North Crowley, Euless Trinity, and the North Crowley offense waking up again tonight. And how about that? A little stutter step to the house.
And North Crowley making a statement. This is a good Euless Trinity team, right?
Yeah.
I mentioned this is a physical team that's able to kind of, if they're able to stay within their style of play, because they can mash you up the middle. But with North Crowley up now, going on 20, looking to make it 21, you're going to have to start throwing the ball a little more if you're Euless Trinity with TJ Tupou, and it kind of takes away Josh Bell and your kind of your dynamic running back in favor of maybe a style that you're not necessarily as comfortable playing. So that's one to keep an eye on if they start maybe making mistakes as they have to open it up a little bit more and go into the teeth of this athletic North Crowley defense.
So yeah, North Crowley, a strong effort offensively. We were talking about Duncanville just a second ago. And we'll take a look at some of those standings, but you have Crowley up there at the top at 3-6A. And you have North Crowley, and they got off to a nice 1-0 start. Of course, they're 4-0 to start the season. Euless Trinity, a nice 1-0 start. And this is going to be a fun district to see how this plays out throughout the year.
Yeah, especially Crowley right now looks like a really, really interesting team with head coach Carlos Lynn, who was at Cedar Hill last year before he got let go. And he's dropped in a great situation in Crowley. And they look the part of maybe how North Crowley looked last year in terms of that emerging the state contender potentially.
All right. Well, we've already seen a couple of very acrobatic plays by wide receivers tonight and some of our highlights and live look-ins. We've got another edition of the Cruton Corner as this week we take a look at some of those top wide receivers throughout the Lone Star State.
Welcome into this week's Cruton Corner on Dave Campbell's Texas Football Tonight, and I'm fired up to be talking about a talented wide receiver class in the class of 2024 in Texas. And I'm going to start at the top with Lake Belton's Micah Hudson, who is fresh off of his commitment to Texas Tech. The 5-star is the highest rated commitment for Texas Tech in Texas Tech history. I like to compare his game to Jamar Chase at Cincinnati for the Cincinnati Bengals. Hudson is a guy who has extremely strong hands. Double or triple team him, you really can't slow him down or stop him. But I love his after the catch ability, his ability to make defenders miss in the open field. He's always hitting somebody with a juke move, making defenders grasp simply at air. Micah Hudson is a very talented wide receiver, right up there with guys like Garrett Wilson and Jackson Smith and Jigba in the state of Texas, who not only went on to have great college careers, they also are having tremendous pro careers. Looking down the list here at number 2, Draylon Miller from Silsbee. He's committed to Texas A&M, and I compare his game to Deebo Samuel for the San Francisco 49ers. Miller is a guy who is a tremendous asset in the passing game, but like Hudson, he's also a dangerous open field runner. He's more like a running back after the catch, more so than anybody else in the state. Draylon Miller is an extremely talented weapon for the Tigers. I would say that he's probably the most important weapon for an offense in the entire state. Terry Bussey at Timpson may have something to say about that, but Draylon Miller is a very important component to Silsbee's team efforts. Looking down here the list at number 3 is Bryant Wesco. He's a 5-star on many of the services. He's committed to Clemson. Big, tall receiver who's drawn comparisons to T. Higgins. Zion Kearney from Fort Bend Hightower is going to be playing his college football at Oklahoma. And Jelani Watkins at Humble Atascocita is going on to play his college football at LSU. A speed demon. He's changed that Atascocita offense instantaneously with his arrival. As you guys know, I like to give my sleeper pick. And my sleeper pick on this list, and trust me, Texas is bringing the heat when you're talking about wide receivers. They're all really talented. But I love Denton Guyer's Josiah Martin. Josiah Martin is a kid who can beat you in the deep passing game. He's about 5'10", 165, 170 pounds. He can beat you on the outside, a vertical threat, a good playmaker in the end zone. He's a red zone weapon, but he's also a tremendous slot receiver. Runs extremely efficient routes, quick feet, knows how to get open. So he's a guy who can beat you in multiple phases, and that's why I'm very high on 4-star Josiah Martin. Thanks, y'all, for having me on for this week's Recruiting Corner. Back to y'all at the desk.
There's only one state in the nation with 13 Division I FBS programs, and there's only one podcast that talks about every single one of them. Introducing the Dave Campbell's Republic of Football podcast, the most complete coverage of the Lone Star State. Join host Ishmael Johnson, Carter Yates, and Mallory Hartley live on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook on Wednesdays at 2 p.m. for the biggest news and weekly previews on all Texas FBS programs. Can't catch every college football game on Saturdays? We've got you covered with recap episodes Sunday mornings with senior writer Mike Craven checking in. Subscribe everywhere you get your podcasts, including Spotify and Apple. Strap in with your host Ishmael Johnson, producer Mallory Hartley, senior writer Mike Craven, and college writer Carter Yates for a ride that'll last from now throughout the season.
Need your daily football fix? Look no further than Texas Football Today, the daily live show from the people that bring you Dave Campbell's Texas football. Every weekday at noon, Greg Tepper and Ashley Pickle bring you the latest news, deep dive analysis, insightful interviews with big-name guests, and more. And if you ever miss an episode, you can subscribe to the Texas Football Today podcast to keep up with all the fun. Don't miss Texas Football Today every weekday at noon at texasfootball.com, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch, and subscribe to Texas Football Today wherever you get your podcasts. Nobody covers Texas high school football like Tep and Step, the premium high school football podcast from Dave Campbell's Texas Football. Dig deep into the sport in every corner of the state with high school football insider Matt Stepp and managing editor Greg Tepper, with game previews, unique insights, and bold predictions. Get Tep and Step by becoming a Dave Campbell's Texas Football subscriber at texasfootball.com/subscribe.
We might not be good at many things, but there is one thing that we crushed, and that's naming a stinking podcast. WTF. Yes, it's exactly what you're thinking. Women talking football. Oh, you thought it meant something else? You might be right. Tune in every Thursday at 2 p.m. as me, Ashley Pickle, and everyone's favorite Mal pal, Mallory Hartley, bring you in-depth analysis of every region of the Lone Star State, talk ball with reporters across Texas, get the real scoop from coaches' wives, and all the other nonsense that comes along with the two of us being allowed to talk into a microphone. Join the party Thursdays at 2 o'clock on the Dave Campbell's Texas Football YouTube page.
We're about an hour in or so to the show tonight. We're already seeing some very exciting plays, some good games shaking out. Of course, we had one we were looking at Duncanville a little bit earlier. That one's sort of gotten away early on from Cedar Hill, but we've got some fun games. We go back to the quad box. I know you missed this the last few weeks.
Listen. This is the first thing that really jumped out to you when we started this show.
Gosh.
We were like, we got a quad box going on here. Look, this is the feature that you're not going to get anywhere. I mean, you might get it on Red Zone, but we're going to say you don't get it anywhere else to keep you
get
here
it for free
and locked in. Yes, exactly. That's something you don't get on Red Zone. It's free. So, as you see, we're taking it to the Battle of the Lakes there at the bottom. I mean, again, that one, I think last year was one of the first times that I remember that game being double digits in terms of win margin. That game is always more than likely close. At least in recent years it has been, as we're kind of going in now, as Westlake coming into a 3-point lead.
Yeah, so they got a field goal. When we last looked, they were around midfield. They were able to cash in on a field goal, and now Lake Travis is marching now.
Yep.
But you can't be hesitant there, Mark. You saw where it got piled up. You have to make a decision. If you're going to come all the way around, just go ahead and go all the way around.
Well, this is big right here, Buck, because Cooper Hudson is the center, and his helmet just came off. So the Cavaliers have to put a new center out there on 2nd and 9. 2:37 to go. 2nd and 9.
Great opportunity for the backup center.
If you say so.
Yep.
Wide receiver to either side. Double wingback set. Nico Hamilton in the backfield. Leone takes the snap out of the shotgun. Looking right. Firing the out and overshoots colors. Like Big Mo, the left tackle, got tangled up with Cullen Devine. And it's now 3rd and 9. Stopping the clock with 2:19 to go.
Sam Self back in the game. Got his shoe back on.
Colors was open there. And that pass
was that tipped at all?
No, it was just overthrown. Two receivers to either side, one behind the other. Now Self goes in motion across the formation. So trips left, one to the right on 3rd and 9. Play clock at 8, now 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Here's the snap. And maybe a false start or a timeout.
I think Coach Carter got the timeout.
There's a flag on the far side of the field. False start.
Yeah, and Coach Carter wanted to get that. He wanted to get that timeout.
There was just mass confusion there.
Yeah, well, what you don't want to do, Mark, you don't want to have a turnover here that just
Well, this is huge because it's 3rd and 14 yards to go. Football is at the 30.
In Longview, we've got a score coming up here.
Look, we told, I said this game last year was a defensive game, but these two teams are deciding just to trade back and forth. Oh my goodness, dives in the end zone. That's awesome. Tune into this one if you have a Texas Live subscription. But if you're going to stick it here.
Yeah. So that one, very close, but we'll take you to a game that is a little bit of the opposite. As now we welcome in one of my old buddies. We got Mitch Mason out there with the Duncanville Cedar Hill game, as we'll bring him in now. Mitch, it's great to see you, man. How you doing?
Hey, Nick. I'm doing well, man. I'm doing well. Good to see you.
All right, so Duncanville, I mean, it looks like from the very get-go, they just a workman-like performance. Just kind of take us through their performance so far there in that first half.
Yeah, well, Duncanville is the best team in the state, and they're showing me why, right? They're physical at the point of attack. Their offense is electric. They can get to you through the air and on the ground. Caden Durham is putting up another incredible performance, showing you why he's going to LSU next year. Keelan Russell, who obviously just committed to SMU, he's been lights out here tonight at the quarterback position, and Cedar Hill just doesn't have a lot of answers at this point.
Yeah, speaking of, you mentioned Keelan Russell and DeCorian Moore. I thought Keelan Russell last year was a big reason why they were kind of able to overcome the North Shore kind of boogeyman finally. They have a quarterback who's able to air it out, right? They're not this plodding running team anymore. You know, do you think he's been kind of the difference between this team being a good, typical Duncanville team versus, like you just said, the best team in the state?
I do. He's a prototypical quarterback, so he can hurt you through the air. He can do it on the ground as well. He doesn't like to run, but when you force him to, he'll get outside the pocket. He has a rushing touchdown here tonight. But that ability to take the top off of defense with one of the best wide receiver corps in the entire state, if not the country, has absolutely been the difference. The defense isn't able to key in on one thing. So, yeah, you got Caden Durham running between the tackles, but you can't devote your entire defensive resource to him because you have to make sure you've got two safeties back to keep Keelan Russell from going over the top. And even then, he's still able to sling it with the best of them.
Yeah, and lastly for me, you know, Reggie Samples climbed the mountaintop last year and got that elusive state title. But I kind of had this image of like the LeBron effect with him, where once he gets that first one, everything else is like, look, we're just smooth sailing from here. He knows how to do it, and that second and third may be easier for him. Do they kind of look like that team that's like, oh, they don't have that pressure on them of getting that number one anymore. They know they can do it, and now it's just kind of like it's business as usual?
I think that's a great way to describe it because they do. They play very free, very loose. They do commit a worrying number of penalties, which I think can come back to bite them in the playoffs. But you see the guys kind of dancing. You see the guys high-fiving each other after big plays. It comes so naturally to this Duncanville team, and they're coached by one of the best and all-time legend, and their coordinators are excellent as well. So, yeah, I think that's a great way to describe it. They do play with a freedom that allows their talent to shine through.
All right, Mitch Mason, thank you again so much for joining us. It's great to see you. Enjoy your the rest of your halftime break, and that should be a fun one on the Duncanville side the rest of the night.
Thanks, guys.
All right, so now we take you into the district standings. Waxahachie had a really good performance last week, and poor Cedar Hill, they can't catch a break back-to-back weeks. Took on Waxahachie last week, and now Duncanville this week. And this is going to be a very fun one to keep track of throughout the entire year.
Oh, yeah, not every district you're going to get two reigning state champions in Duncanville, DeSoto, both the kings of 6A last year, kind of keeping that I-20 corridor, the state title within there. Yeah, I mean, look, you're going to have to pencil in two spots right now, right? Duncanville, DeSoto are going to make the playoffs. I would probably pencil in Duncanville as the favorite in that eventual game, but it's going to be a battle for those two, right? Waxahachie looks really good. Cedar Hill, they missed the playoffs last year. That's not something Cedar Hill likes to do, right? Of course, they're having a tough time right now, but Coach Nick Ward was part of that state the team that appeared at state, I should say, in 2020. He's going to want to get that program back to the standard that Carlos Lynn and before him Joey McGuire got it to. That's competing past Thanksgiving, heading to Christmas, and looking for a chance to play in AT&T.
So another statement tonight from Duncanville as they've controlled it from the opening kickoff, but I think we got some more highlights, Ish, coming in from throughout the state.
Let's go to LaPorte and Barbers Hill. We're going to start right here on the goal line. Jaden Rodriguez is going to put Barbers Hill up right up the middle. Nothing too flashy there. When you got the goal line, you just take what they give you, and that's going to be enough to put Barbers Hill up 7-0 early in this one. We're going to keep it here. No, this is not a replay. We're back. They drove down the field again. Cody Fuentes this time is going to get a 6-yard pass right there, running through the pocket. Good navigation. Finds his open man. That is Evan Holguin to put Barbers Hill up 14-0. Big lead for them over LaPorte. Let's jump to the second quarter. It won't be too long before LaPorte gets on the board. This is going to be a run from Tyrese Barnes. Toss sweep. Look at that, old school football. He's going to take it the other way. Juke back, goes right, but then takes it to the left. 37 yards to put LaPorte on the board. 14-7. Barbers Hill still clinging to a lead. And they said, you know what, things are getting a little too close. So it's going to be Fuentes again, this time near midfield in the shotgun. And guess what? He's going to take that play action fake. He's going to go deep, 39 yards to Connor Cohen, drops it in a bucket. 21-7. And just before halftime, just before they go to the break, LaPorte says, nah, we're going to get this back to a one-score game. Noah Gass, quarterback under center. He's going to take it here. Swing it backwards, and look, a double pass. Landon K to Caden Hisatake, 46 yards, and it's 21-14. LaPorte making sure that all the stops are pulled out in this one. Barbers Hill looking like they were comfortable, and LaPorte said, no, we got one more trick before halftime.
I want to see more of that.
I was about to say, let's play. This is district play, baby. Let's get going.
And again, another one you were talking about should be a defensive struggle. We've got Longview and Lancaster. Again, we've been keeping an eye on that one. Yep. Longview with a 28-21 lead there in the second quarter.
Yeah, as you see at the bottom here, this is one of our first check-ins with Silsbee, West Orange Stark. I mentioned that one. Probably a battle between two pretty good programs down there in the Golden Triangle. Silsbee, of course, being probably the odds-on favorite in Region 3, I would say, to come out of that classification. They fell just short to Quera last year, which is something that's a game they're going to want back and probably replayed in their head every single time this offseason. These are two teams that played each other before, and let's take a look at last year's matchup.
And 6 from the Mustangs 47. They go 2 reaches to the left. That's a little flare pass to Miller. He's got one man to beat. Gets outside, but there's that quickness from West Orange. Holy cow, Judge strips. I think that's a carrying Judge to strip Miller.
Yeah.
And that's going to be a score for the Mustangs as Miller was fighting him off.
That might have been a case.
We're staying the spread. 2 left, 2 right. Shotgun, Brisbane. 3-step drop, looking for the end zone. Got Miller right across the middle. Touchdown. Nice.
He's on money tonight.
Yeah.
He's on tonight.
Yeah.
Field goal try. That looks good, actually.
Yeah, buddy.
Nice kick. So Tigers with a field goal here to go up 10-7 over the Mustangs with 10. Handoff's fake. Outside ride. A little bit of pushing. He got a lane. His Judge gets loose. He crosses 30. Great speed. Cuts back inside, and that's going to be a touchdown.
Yeah. That's a great route and a great run. Adver catch there.
I don't see any flag. They're in a strong left. Turner takes a snap, rolls right, looking for a receiver, and he's got him wide open.
Yeah, there was nobody. Botley.
Tigers got Miller out here by himself. Fakes hand, they go deep. He's got double coverage, but Miller still goes up. He makes a catch at the 35 in double coverage, and he crosses the 5. Touchdown. Holy cow. High formation. Left side handoff. Big J when he hits one. Pushes forward. Touchdown Tigers. That's what I like to see.
Yeah, good job.
Tigers answer after a great defensive stand. They're staying in there. Jonah Brown in the backfield. 2-step drop. Mason's staying in there. Does fire across. Miller catches that ball, and he is gone. Caught it at the 37, and oh my goodness, touchdown Tigers.
I tell you what, that's just a man right there. That's a man-child going across the middle. Make it
27-yard attempt.
Yeah,
roughly
28.
Arsenal boots, and that's a good-looking kick. Nice. And he's going to get the ball. Look at this. And he gets loose. Across the 30. Stiff arms. 20. 10. 5. Touchdown, Miller. Holy cow. Boom.
Oh, my goodness.
Miller in the backfield. Brisbane hands it off. Miller takes a stiff, gets outside. If he gets gone, oh, he got the 30, the 40, the 50, 40, 30, 20, 10. Touchdown Tigers. Holy cow. That's
Silsbee with the win a year ago. This one, safe to say, it's a little bit of a lower scoring game than what we saw last year.
Yeah, look, this one's a little bit more up Hiawatha Hickman's alley, I think. Former defensive line coach taking over last year, I should say. And, you know, as you see the season averages here, Western Stark, a solid start, right? But everybody knows that their standards set by what they do against the best in the state. Yeah. And what better way to test that 300 yards per game. As you see, I mean, again, I mentioned Hiawatha Hickman, defensive-minded. He's going to want to control the game, right? And that's what they do with the running game. But he's going to have his toughest test. Again, Draylon Miller, 5-star Texas A&M commit, probably one of the 1, 2, 3 best players in all of Texas, regardless of classification. I also want to give a quick shout out to Michael Mosher, their wide receiver. 15 touchdowns to 0 interceptions right now in the season. Ooh. Almost over 1,100 yards passing. He has Draylon Miller and Ashton Cartwright, who's the second wide receiver for them. He's able, as you're seeing Draylon Miller's stats here, look at this. I mean, come on. This is elite stuff. There's a reason why he's committed to Texas A&M right now, and is a 5-star DCTF player. I do want to give a shout out again to Ashton Cartwright, is number 2. I talked to him at 7-on-7. Those two guys as a 1-2 are pretty crazy because teams are obviously going to focus on this guy, Draylon Miller, and that frees up Ashton Cartwright, who I think is an FBS Division I talent, to be one-on-one a lot because they're going to be double teaming his teammate. Yep. And he says, yeah, playing with Draylon helps me a ton because like I believe he has almost 400 yards receiving right now. As you're seeing, a bad drop there for Western Stark. You're wanting to kind of, I believe that was Marcus Turner there, a quarterback.
Yep, we'll take you to the call on that one.
Tigers will come out, trips left.
So we're gonna run
single up high, shotgun formation. They're going to take a shot to Miller. Bad throw by Mosier.
Yeah, he had to pick that one up off the turf and he couldn't do it. 13.2 left. We may just take a knee at this point.
Not a very good half on the offensive side for either team, if you want my opinion. It's not going to be crazy stats.
My vote goes for the rest for the first half.
Yeah, both teams stifled by inconsistent, really, offensive play. Both teams do punch it in, but I would think personal fouls and penalties had a big play.
We had two drop passes. That was on the ground, too. Hey, another flag.
Cartwright picks that up off the turf.
All right, so we'll take you back. We've seen North Crowley. Their offense has been rolling so far. Euless Trinity able to respond there in the second quarter. How about that? 40 points in the second quarter for North Crowley.
Again, this is 40 points. Again, they're a talented team, but I must stress, most of their talent is on the defensive side as far as high-level talent. So,
and like you said, I mean, you've seen up close that Euless Trinity team. That's a very physical team.
That's a very physical team that's able to just bully teams often with their size. And the fact that North Crowley is able to kind of, I guess that's what kind of makes them a little deadly is like they're able to run around you, run through you. They have size, they have speed. So yeah, I mean, we'll see where that one finishes. But right now, all North Crowley.
Yeah, and we'll take you in now. We've got Lampasas and Wimberley, that one at halftime, as we'll bring in Jared Robinson now, who's on the call for that game. And Jared, again, thank you so much for joining us during the halftime break. That's a close defensive struggle so far. Just your overall summary thoughts in that first half.
Wimberley, unfortunately, 3 turnovers for them and haven't really kind of put it together a whole lot. They lead 14-7, but this Lampasas team, their physical football team, I anticipate a really, really good second half. Continuing it, Cody Stover, quarterback for the Wimberley Texans, he's been really, really good. Reed Jerome for Lampasas, been good. Ty Johnson, a freshman, 87-yard touchdown. I imagine y'all have the highlights of that one. He has got incredible foot speed for Lampasas. It's going to be a good second quarter here in Wimberley.
Yeah, you mentioned quarterback Cody Stover. He was thrown into a weird situation last year. Of course, Cash McCollum leaving. He kind of gets thrown into the fire as a sophomore. What have you seen from him specifically? I know he's had the offense has had some turnovers, but just overall, what have you seen from him in his growth now that he's entering his second year as a starter?
Yeah, Cade really was. You're right. I mean, he came into his sophomore year last year really thinking that he was probably going to be on the defensive side of the football and really trying to figure out of the slot what he was going to do. Cash McCollum, of course, leaves, goes to China Spring, and he's thrust into that position. But a young man who he has accepted it. His older brother, Cade Stover, of course, a graduate of Wimberley, played at UTSA. They've done some really, really awesome things developing him as a quarterback, and he has developed into an amazing leader. This year coming into today, 14 touchdowns, only 1 interception. And so I expect to see more of that from him, but his leadership, and absolutely this team loves Cody Stover. He's a guy who, if you need 3 yards, he's one of the best ones. This Coach Warren and the staff, they absolutely love him being back there, and his leadership is amazing.
Yeah, and lastly, on this Lampasas team, to me, this was really a big showcase for them to really show that they're up to that level of 2019 and 2020, those Ace Whitehead years. This is their best start since then. What have you seen from them, and do you think this is kind of the showcase game that they could need to be like, hey, look, those years weren't a fluke, right? This is a program that should be well into state contender status.
Absolutely, and this is a team, too, that you got to remember, they're early. They are very early. A lot of young players. I mentioned Ty Johnson, a freshman, 87-yard touchdown on a simple tunnel screen to the outside earlier. Reed Jerome, this moment last year, very similar to what you're talking about with Cody Stover. He had 135 tackles last year at the linebacker position. So now he's thrust into the quarterback position role, and he's done a really good job of maintaining his poise and leading the team to a really, really good 4-0 record, 188 points total scored for them. Coming into this game, but I agree with you. This game is a really stage for them to figure out who they are as a team, and they're hanging up with one of the biggest ones right here in Wimberley, of course, top 5 ranked in 4A Division II. They're doing a really good job. Coach Troy Rogers, talked to him on Thursday. He's excited about what this team not only has this year, but has to come. A junior running back, a junior quarterback, a really good sophomore wide receiver, Bryson Roberts. We saw him in the top 10 Sports Center this last week, number 2 for a catch over Pflugerville Connolly. He's excited about the future, but he's excited about this year, too, being 4-0. It is a young team.
All right, Jared Robinson, again, thank you so much for joining us during the halftime break. Enjoy. That should be a very fun second half.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, so again, a defensive struggle in that first half as we take a look at those career numbers that time for Cody Stover.
Listen, I mean, this guy, again, we mentioned it. He was supposed to be a receiver last year, kind of learning. He's like, oh, Cash McCollum is going to be my quarterback. I need to learn from him. He goes to China Spring, obviously wins the state championship there, is now a UNT commit. But he got thrown into the spotlight as a sophomore. And what happened? Wimberley went to state. Yeah. He's a dual threat guy, which is something that Wimberley doesn't necessarily always have, right? I know we talked about JoJo Weeks a little bit in the interview, and he was a pocket passer straight up. But this guy is allowing them to be more balanced. Yeah. And as you're seeing here, 243 yards averaging per game through the air, 188 on the ground. That is mostly him, right? He has 255 rushing yards this year on the ground. Matured a lot as a sophomore, and he's still kind of emerging as a prospect overall. I know he's a baseball player as well. So this is his team, and this is kind of Wimberley not catching up, not catching anybody off guard now. They are one of those top teams in 4A.
Yeah, so again, some fun games so far. We'll take you to a break for just a moment. We've got a lot of stuff going on throughout the state of Texas. We'll be back in just a few moments with more action as you're watching Dave Campbell's Texas Football Tonight.
There's only one state in the nation with 13 Division I FBS programs, and there's only one podcast that talks about every single one of them. Introducing the Dave Campbell's Republic of Football podcast, the most complete coverage of the Lone Star State. Join host Ishmael Johnson, Carter Yates, and Mallory Hartley live on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook on Wednesdays at 2 p.m. for the biggest news and weekly previews on all Texas FBS programs. Can't catch every college football game on Saturdays? We've got you covered with recap episodes Sunday mornings with senior writer Mike Craven checking in. Subscribe everywhere you get your podcasts, including Spotify and Apple. Strap in with your host Ishmael Johnson, producer Mallory Hartley, senior writer Mike Craven, and college writer Carter Yates for a ride that'll last from now throughout the season.
Need your daily football fix? Look no further than Texas Football Today, the daily live show from the people that bring you Dave Campbell's Texas football. Every weekday at noon, Greg Tepper and Ashley Pickle bring you the latest news, deep dive analysis, insightful interviews with big-name guests, and more. And if you ever miss an episode, you can subscribe to the Texas Football Today podcast to keep up with all the fun. Don't miss Texas Football Today every weekday at noon at texasfootball.com, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch, and subscribe to Texas Football Today wherever you get your podcasts. Nobody covers Texas high school football like Tep and Step, the premium high school football podcast from Dave Campbell's Texas Football. Dig deep into the sport in every corner of the state with high school football insider Matt Stepp and managing editor Greg Tepper, with game previews, unique insights, and bold predictions. Get Tep and Step by becoming a Dave Campbell's Texas Football subscriber at texasfootball.com/subscribe.
We might not be good at many things, but there is one thing that we crushed, and that's naming a stinking podcast. WTF. Yes, it's exactly what you're thinking. Women talking football. Oh, you thought it meant something else? You might be right. Tune in every Thursday at 2 p.m. as me, Ashley Pickle, and everyone's favorite Mal pal, Mallory Hartley, bring you in-depth analysis of every region of the Lone Star State, talk ball with reporters across Texas, get the real scoop from coaches' wives, and all the other nonsense that comes along with the two of us being allowed to talk into a microphone. Join the party Thursdays at 2 o'clock on the Dave Campbell's Texas Football YouTube page.
Welcome back to Dave Campbell's Texas Football Tonight. This is week number 5. Again, a lot of very exciting district games. Let's cut into another game right now. We've been watching this, and again, we've kind of been surprised by North Crowley hanging 40 on a very physical Euless Trinity defense still in the first half.
Yeah, and they're about to cross. Looks like North Crowley's about to cross midfield again. I see Jimerson looks at the sidelines. Looks like he's about to take a timeout there. But yeah, no, I mean, this is a little bit of a surprise for me, at least. I know North Crowley is very good. Chris Jimerson is a very good quarterback as a junior. Kind of still waiting for his recruiting to take off, to be honest. He's such a dynamic player that I think some people are trying to figure out exactly what he is at the next level. Yeah. But still, regardless, very talented offense. But yeah, the fact that their offense has been the highlight of this and not their defense, or not as much their defense, I should say, is pretty surprising to me.
Was it surprising at all, maybe, that the defense has given up 24 points there
in
the first
maybe.
half?
I'll tell you one that's maybe not as surprising as Duncanville, as you're seeing right now, 49-0. Look, we talked at halftime. I mean, Keelan Russell. Let me just say this. It's not a surprise that Duncanville struggled to move the ball against North Shore when they didn't have a quarterback that they felt really confident, really letting air out the ball, right? Yep. Jaquinton Jackson gets hurt in his senior year, and he's by far been the best quarterback that they've had. He's been the best quarterback until now that they've had behind center, is what I'm trying to say. Keelan Russell is going to be in that conversation by the time he graduates because already a SMU commit. He's going to be an emerging 4-star quarterback, as you're seeing here. Season averages. I mean, look, Duncanville's not really having to flex too much in the game in this season, right? They can pull their guys at halftime. They know they're going to kind of mop the floor. They're going to have their premier games, right? They beat South Oak Cliff. They're going to play DeSoto. They know the games that they got to get up for, really. Yeah. But as we know, Colin Simmons on defense, Alex January, you can just run through the list of just juggernaut players that are going to be playing on Saturdays and Sundays. So I know it's going to be it's looking rough for Cedar Hill right now, but this is a program that's looking to get back, right? This is a program that's looking to get back versus a program that's here now and kind of the standard of Dallas-Fort Worth football.
Yeah, it helps for Duncanville to go up against Cedar Hill, who had a bit of a turnover issue last week against Waxahachie. And speaking of last week, again, it's always so much fun. We get to keep up with all the Dave Campbell's football crew on all their adventures on the road as we take you into another edition of the Dave Campbell's vlog. This is, I guess, week number 4 edition.
Hey y'all, it's week 4 of the Texas high school football season. I'm here at Mesquite Memorial Stadium. little Thursday night action between Arlington and Mesquite Horn. Word is one of my coworkers is a graduate of Arlington High. I don't know. I guess she's all right, I guess. You know. But hopefully we get a good football game, and we'll see if Mallory Hartley's alma mater, the Arlington Colts, can win. And of course, we're hanging out here by the tower in Mesquite. Great hospitality here in Mesquite ISD always. Looking forward to a good way to start the Week 4 campaign. We got the Mesquite Horn Jaguars going through pregame. Y'all liking this weather?
Yes, sir. Move our weather right here, man.
Got the Arlington Colts going through pregame. Mallory Hartley's alma mater looking to pull the upset tonight. 1, 2, 3.
We made it. Lubbock Cooper, Wichita Falls Rider, are you pumped?
The most pumped I've ever been for anything.
He's so pumped he stumbled over his words.
I'm headed north to Salina for a state-ranked matchup between Anna and Salina. Should be a great one. Big 4A Division I matchup. Can't wait for it. So we're going to hit the road, make our way up to the north, and got a barbecue spot in mind I'm going to grab for a pregame meal. Haven't been to Salina's new stadium, so I don't know if they're going to feed us or not. So I'm going to take the safe route and you know, get something to eat pregame. So let's hit the road.
Salina just wins over Anna in 4 overtimes. Unbelievable game here in Salina. 2 championship-type teams going at it toe-to-toe. A 4 overtime showdown. Salina holds Anna in the 4th overtime to escape with the win. One of the best games I've ever seen. Definitely Game of the Year candidate here in Salina.
Currently eating hot dogs in a stairwell because there's nowhere to eat in the press box of Keller Timber Creek and South Lake Curl. So, cheers.
Cheers. All right, y'all. I'm at Love Field in Dallas. It's Saturday morning. I'm rolling on about 3.5 hours of sleep, getting ready to head to San Antonio. Got double-headed today. First game, San Antonio Roosevelt, San Antonio Madison. And second game tonight is a district ball game, Hayes Consolidated, and San Antonio MacArthur. So I'm on the shuttle, getting ready to head over to Love Field, and yeah, it's going to be a busy day. Day game problems. Gotta wear sunglasses in the press box because the sun is right in your face. First world problems right over here in San Antonio. San Antonio Roosevelt celebrating a big win. Huge district win for the Rough Riders. All right, y'all, I'm here at the San Antonio Airport, wrapping up the week on Sunday morning, about to head back to the Metroplex, getting a little work done right here, prepping for next week. It's going to be another great week of high school football. Appreciate everyone sticking with the video, the vlog, and hope you guys really enjoy it, and we'll do it again next week. It's already week 5, where I can't believe we're halfway through almost the Texas high school football regular season. It just flies by when you're having fun. Peace, y'all.
Here's a view of Abilene Christian's tailgate before the big game with UIW.
it looks like you were having fun there on the sidelines during last week.
I did not consent to being in vlog this early, so I'll have to talk with our producer Ashley Pickle about that one. So.
Well, we had Gavin Moritz. He was here on the desk last week, and it sounds like he's an experienced mountain climber now. It sounds like quite the expedition, I think, for Gavin. First of all, are you okay? You got your breath back? I mean, it sounds like they were making you go up and down the ladder, and also I hear your brother Gary was having to make that trip with you as well.
Yeah, guys, I mean, you got to work with what you got, right? Sometimes you're up on the top of the press box. Sometimes you got to climb down a ladder and go down to the very bottom of the bleachers. But we're here, and it's halftime here in Winnie. It's 24-6 Kirbyville at the break. We're good. I'm good. Gary's good.
Good, because we're not covering if anything happens to you, by the way. But regardless, what stood out to you so far in this one? These are two interesting teams. We don't get a lot of small school football, and so these are two teams that are 3-1 heading into this one. I'm very curious to see your thoughts overall on what you've seen so far.
Well, I mean, Kirbyville came into the game, right, and they played very aggressive so far tonight. They've scored 3 touchdowns. They've gone for 2 after all 3 scores. They're up 24 because they've gone for 2 on each touchdown, and they've got it each time. East Chambers, the leading rusher, Dylan Reeves, has been kind of shut down tonight so far for the Bucs. He came into the game with 12 touchdown rushes on the season and doesn't have one so far tonight through the first half, and I think that's been the difference.
Looking at Kirbyville, Kirbyville's a team that went 3-7 last year. I believe they had 14 wins the past 5 years. What have you seen from them and your preparation for this game as well, as we have some fans in the background there? But as we've seen your prep for this year, what have you seen has been a difference for them this year after the 3-1 start?
I think, honestly, after going last year, they went 3-7. They were 5th place in the district, missed the playoffs, and this year I think they're in a good position to make the playoffs. They can get in a run. But I think it's been the upperclassmen that have kind of grown up a little bit over the offseason. I mean, Trey Allen, the head coach, has been here for a couple of years now. He's kind of got his group of guys that he likes. He's been coaching since they were freshmen and sophomores, and now he's got those guys in position to make a run.
All right, Gavin, we'll let you go and sign some autographs. You look like you got some fans back there in a bit, so we'll let you get back to the second half.
Sounds good. Thank you, guys.
Isn't that what makes Texas high school football so great?
That's
you go to, like you were talking about, we don't cover the small towns as much so far early on, but we go out there and they're looking at Gavin. That guy's a superstar. Yeah. And thankfully, he made the voyage back down from top of the press box safely as we take a look at how that district is shaken out so far. Yeah, I mentioned, Kirbyville is the big story here so far. 3-7 last year, already hit the 3-win mark for the year. 3-1, 14 wins the past 5 seasons. They beat Corrigan, Camden, and Hemphill, who they lost to both last year. They have an experienced offensive line. East Chambers is kind of the team, I don't want to say the standard of this, but they're more of the usual playoff team out of this district. One guy I do want you to know is freshman quarterback KJ Fontenot. Almost 300 yards passing, 100 yards on the ground. Freshman, that's right, a freshman quarterback. That's not something you often see, a starting quarterback. But by the way, I know we mentioned we don't get a lot of small school. If you are a small school athletic director or a small school head coach, right, and you see, you see Kirbyville and East Chambers, you're like, I want my game on Texan Live. Give us a call. Give Ashley Pickle, Mallory Hartley. Give our girls a call, and we'll see what we can do for you guys. Because look, we're willing to I'm a small school advocate for the magazine behind the scenes. I do the 3A and 4A classifications. So I love the small school. I started off doing 2A, right? So I personally love the small school because that to me is the stereotypical town shuts down, right? Shops close up, everybody goes to the game. That's awesome. That's what I love to see. So if you are a 3A, 4A, 2A coach watching saying, I want some publicity for my kids, let's talk. Who knows? Yeah, so that's been a fun game so far. And again, a big shout out to Gavin Moritz having to get a little bit of extra work in. Yeah, he's got to go back up now. But we've got some highlights. And look, we haven't really given the kickers some love on the show so far. So let's do so. Why not? We got Tommy Stevens. He's a junior kicker. That one, he made that look like a piece of cake. That was just a little, maybe a couple more yards other than an extra point. But how about this? At 17-0, 39-yard attempt this time for Tommy Stevens. Good snap, good hold. Perfect execution. Almost that edge rusher almost got to it. But Stevens, it's good. Makes it 20-0 Lake Belton. That's in the first quarter. We jump ahead into the second. All right, let's see what we got here. How about a 49-yard touchdown bomb? Able to connect with Micah Hudson. We've heard that name plenty of times before. 27-0 Lake Belton. At the half, it's 34-0.
Texas Tech fans are just salivating watching that. They're imagining Baron Morton throwing him the ball next year. Look, that's what that guy does, right? He's able to attack the ball, be physical, and yeah, that's only the first highlight of maybe many we'll get tonight. That's definitely one of many we'll get the rest of the year. I mean, that dude is just an incredible playmaker.
Yeah, so again, it wasn't, it was only a matter of time till we got to talk about Micah Hudson for a bit tonight. But another game we were talking about throughout the night that was maybe expecting to be a defensive struggle, turns out an offensive slugfest in the first half. We've got Ryan Fox on the call out in Lancaster, Texas, as we got Longview and Lancaster. And Ryan, thank you so much for joining us during your halftime break. You surprised at all at the amount of scoring we saw there in the first half?
It's been very surprising, especially when you look at how Longview's played in their last 3 games, where they've given up a total of 14 points, and they've given up 21 here in the first half. Now, they kind of picked things up a little bit and ended up in the first half scoring 17 unanswered, so they're in a good position right now.
Now, this is a Lancaster team, in my opinion, that kind of needs this game a little more than Longview, right? They're really struggling to start this season compared to last year. Have you seen a sense of urgency saying, like, hey, we've got to turn this season around, and this is the perfect week to do it?
Oh, yeah, it's no doubt. I mean, they came out firing on all cylinders right away, and, they were fast. They were very electric offensively, very up-tempo, and they scored on their first 3 possessions. It was there towards the end where they started to get wore down a little bit, and the Longview defense, especially in the front 7, really started to pick things up. And towards the end of the first half, they really started to pick up the pressure on Lancaster quarterback Carter Jones. And like toward the last 8 minutes of the first half, they weren't able to get anything going, but they started off strong.
Yeah, I'm wondering, Longview is a team that struggled to start, not struggled, but they lost their opening game to McKinney. Do they look like a team that's kind of like back clicking on all cylinders? Obviously, they're in a shootout right now, but still, this is a talented Lancaster team that you had to expect to turn around a little bit. Do you think Longview's kind of brushed off that early season stumble to kind of be back to their standard?
Oh, absolutely, no doubt about it. And they had a slow start in tonight's game as well. They had a 3 and out in 2 of their first 3 starts, but after a quick, drive off the back of Taylor Tatum, and he had an 18-yard touchdown run, and then they followed that up with a 35-yard touchdown run of quarterback Andrew Tutt, and then they were able to get a defensive pick 6 by Davion Robertson as well. So they really started picking things up after the slow start on both sides of the ball.
All right, Ryan Fox, again, thank you so much for joining us during your break. That should be a very fun second half between Longview and Lancaster. So that's been a lot of fun as we'll take a look at some of the other games that have been in action. Again, we were very excited looking at when the show started, looking at some of our spotlight games because we've got some undefeated matchups, a lot of big district matchups.
Some rivalries going on.
Exactly. So it's been a lot of fun. We've got some big showdowns. Again, it's been a fun one, Lancaster and Longview, to keep up with throughout the evening. But we've got some more games in action at the moment. As again, this has just been a lot of fun. We take you back. And you've been talking about this one since the very beginning of the show. You got Lake Travis and Westlake. That's in the third quarter, and Westlake has the lead currently. Yeah.
I mean, look, this is both of these Central Texas showdowns, right? I mentioned with Lampasas and Wimberley, but also the Battle of the Lakes down there at the bottom. I mean, I think there's not a more underrated atmosphere to me than Lake Travis home games, because Lake Travis loves to bring back a lot of players that are either around town or played for them, and their sidelines are just chock full. And it doesn't matter how good they are. This game is always going to be packed, whether it's at Westlake, whether it's at Lake Travis, doesn't matter. This one's going to be, it doesn't, like I said, last year being a double-digit game was kind of an aberration here as we check in. And you see, again, 10-7 after halftime. This is a game that Coach Tony Salazar loves. He's like, awesome. This is a one-score game, but we're up. We can kind of control things. Lake Travis is willing to run the ball. We're going to check in here to the announcer audio, actually, and take you in and give you a little taste of it.
The sophomore right tackle, Caden Leone, is the quarterback. Colors, Munnerlin, and Dida are the wide receivers. Seth Galbraith is out tonight. It was a first down. Here's Leone looking to pass. He's in trouble. Leone's got to throw it away. He sails it downfield and incomplete. Colors actually had a step on Jackson or Judson Crockett.
It'd been hard to get his feet set on that one.
Yeah, he was scrambling for his life on that one. So, Mike Youngblood is downstairs, and Mike, good evening to you. Glad you can make it. Your thoughts on the atmosphere here?
It is.
I pass my neighbors on the street, and I'm proud. Proud to teach the next generation of leaders. Proud to serve in the town right where I live. Outsiders might not understand, but for Texas, I will.
Priority of the Texas Hill Country. You can reach Tracy by calling 512.
All right, so on one of our spotlight games, we had North Crowley, Euless Trinity, and we've both been a little bit surprised at the efficiency of the North Crowley offense against that Euless Trinity defense there in the first half. We're now joined by James Tritley, who is on the call. And James, before we get into the game, I saw you had a pretty good little pregame meal there. It looks like it's a brisket grilled cheese or something. I mean, I almost drove down there because, I was a little bit jealous.
Listen, man, you can't really have a pregame meal if you're not having barbecue. Anywhere I go, I could find the best barbecue, and that really starts off what'll make a good call. So if you're in Texas calling high school football, it seems like the ultimate 1-2 punch, if you would.
Look, we talked about before this all started, we were like, oh, this is going to be an interesting game between a Euless Trinity team that's physical and a defense like North Crowley. It's kind of been the offense of North Crowley, in my opinion, that's looked to be the part. What have you seen from Chris Jemerson and this offense that just is allowing them to just light up the scoreboard here at the half?
Yeah, I think it's really what haven't I seen. There's so many options that they have. Whether it's Jemerson in the pass game, he's a dual threat guy. He's able to sling the ball downfield for what he's able to do. In the run game with Ashton Searle, we haven't seen Cornelius Warren. I don't know anything about that, but Searle, 3 touchdowns overall in a night. That's really where their offense has been coming from, has been him. But Jemerson's been doing it overall, finding his open targets. I think the biggest, if you had to find a negative for North Crowley right now, they've had a lot of penalties go against them, but the 40 points that they have right now really haven't, those penalties haven't mattered.
Yeah, a little bit. You mentioned the penalties there. Another thing that I'm kind of noticing is Euless Trinity is able to move the ball, right? I saw them against Flowermont Marcus, but I know that now that the score is getting a little bit bigger, they want to control the ball with Josh Bell in that offensive line. But do you kind of see in the second half them maybe having to stretch the field a little bit, knowing that the deficit's going to keep growing if they can't shut North Crowley down?
Ish, I'm glad you asked that question because you talked about second half and what's going to change. This is a 16-point game. And the term that I used earlier for Euless Trinity is they're not quite knocking on the door yet, but they're halfway up the steps. And when they do, they're going to come up with a battering ram. So the way that they're going to get there, I truly think Josh Bell's going to need to be an answer. Ethan Wright's going to need to be another guy. One thing to note about second half Euless Trinity, 107 points in the second half in their first 4 games. So if there's going to be a time to change the tempo, it's going to be now here in the second half for Trinity.
All right, James. Again, thank you so much for joining us. Enjoy the rest of your halftime break, and that should be a fun second half. And again, a little bit surprising, North Crowley able to sort of run away with it there in the first half.
Listen, like James said, I think it's a lot. I think it shows a little bit more of an impressive, explosive edge from the North Crowley offense, and the fact that they're making penalties, right, and still able to kind of put up 40 points and kind of hold this lead over a good Euless Trinity team says a lot about what Ray Gates is able to do. But we have some more highlights. Let's go.
I like it.
Let's go.
I love
Magnolia and Manville. Let's get down to the Houston area. And let's read here. Starting the second quarter, it's going to be, let's get more kicker highlights, man. How about this? Let's
for
do
the
it.
Brand, right?
20-yard field goal here, right there for Manville. Come on, let's give love to some kickers here. Manville, though, Gus Jordan puts Magnolia West in field goal range with a deep pass right there down to about the 25. And look at that. Another kicking highlight, 15-yard field goal. Look, college kickers always make the always make the highlight for not making field goals. You guys are making theirs. It's 3-3 at halftime.
All right, we love giving a shout out to the kickers. All right, we got Weiss and we got Harkers Heights, Pflugerville Weiss. How about this one? It's going to be a fake handoff, and Adrian Wilson on the pass that time from Jax Brown, 45 yards to the house. It's 7-0 Weiss on the board. Then Harker Heights, they get a nice little drive together. And how about Dylan Plake able to drop back and finding Tyler Johnson, who gets a nice little run over toward midfield, and that is able to not stall. That drive stalls out though, as that was a nice play, and Weiss able to move back up. They're up by 7, and it's 14-0 there in the first quarter. Nice play there. Harker Heights trying to get something going. They get a couple of nice plays, and how about this run to the outside again toward midfield? Able to find some room, but still not able to get much going as we jump ahead to the second quarter. Weiss gets the ball back, and it's going to be a play from the Harker 25, and that's a beautiful catch right on the little tiptoe toward the back of the end zone. 21-0 Weiss, as they are controlling things there in the second quarter, but Harker Heights trying to find a little bit of breathing room. And how about this explosive run? That's going to be a lot of green grass that time, as Plake is able to take it into the Weiss territory, but again, not able to cap things off. So Harker Heights has gotten some good stuff, but not able to convert. And on the other side, Pflugerville Weiss able to find the end zone as Braden Woolley hits the line as he goes and makes it 28-0. Harker trying to get something going again, this time looking to finish off the drives. They're down 28-0. How about a little quick throw and a nice play right there, able to convert. So the story in that one, Harker Heights getting some explosive plays. They're getting into Pflugerville Weiss territory, but just not able to convert, and Weiss able to control. Right now it's a 31-7 game at that point.
Got some lively highlights here at halftime, man. We got a long list of scores going on. We got 30, 40-point halftime scores. This is explosive.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun so far. And again, you've seen some good plays, and it's always good to give the kickers some shout-outs. We haven't given them enough love throughout the first couple
I mentioned
weeks
it.
of the show.
College kickers miss field goals all the time, right? Well, we got some kickers right here that probably deserve a shot at the college game as we take a look at some halftime scores, or scores just coming back from halftime, I should say. Longview opening up a double-digit lead on Lancaster there, and Wimberley looking like they're trying to pull away from Lampasas. Silsbee and Western Stark still tied at 6-6. And Kirbyville, I mentioned Kirbyville already matched their win total from last year, 24-6 right now over East Chambers.
Now again, this is the one you were talking about throughout the night. We've got Westlake and Lake Travis. How about this? Wide open up the middle. That's a good play. That's textbook blocking by the offensive line. And going in untouched, unscathed, and Westlake opening up a 2-score lead.
Yeah, it's running back Jack Kaiser for Westlake there. I mean, again, look, Tony Salazar is just rubbing his hands together because he knows that he can just run the ball, play some sound defense now that they're about to go up double digits, and say, you know what, this is exactly the type of game I like to play. The former defensive coordinator taking over now in his second year for Westlake. So, yeah, I mean, geez, this is – if you're like Travis now, you love to run the ball, but are you gonna have to start throwing it a little bit to kind of chase this Westlake defense a bit?
Yeah, well, in Westlake, they love to run the ball, averaging around 178 rushing yards a game. But we got a little bit of pause in the action for now as we got that Westlake score. But now we've got a nice little look behind the curtain as we've got the big matchup, Rockwall and Rockwall Heath, as we take a closer look at Rodney Webb.
For now, I joked when you walked in, I hardly recognized you with the red and black and the H on the chest.
Yeah.
Because the last time I saw you in the town of Rockwall, you were on the other side of the tracks.
Yes, I had a lot of orange in my closet for a long time. And, now those people in Heath, they'll ask me from time to time, you don't still have anything orange in your closet, do you? And I'm like, no. There might be a couple things that are tucked in the very back of it, but no, I don't dare wear even orange piping. I've got a pullover that has orange piping. I don't feel like I can wear that around town.
You used to live on the Heath side when you were coaching at Royce City and
Mesquite Horn.
And at Horn.
Yeah. And my first 3 years at Rockwall High. We lived down in Heath.
Okay.
Got a ton of friends down there. There's a lot of guys who have kids in the program right now that I was really tight with during my time living down there. My daughter went to high school with some boys and girls that have little brothers and sisters now that are at Heath. And so I've got a lot of connection to that part of the community and that campus. Even though during my time at Rockwall it was a big rivalry, I'm connected down there for sure. And so when they needed somebody to come in, I just felt like, they needed somebody that could come in and establish trust immediately. And having been there in Rockwall the amount of time that I was, having been a part of that community, I felt like I'm the guy that needs to come in and get it back on track. I think I'm probably more different after having been off the field for a year, serving in an AD role. That opportunity at Highland Park was great, and I loved my time there. It was really interesting to watch Randy Allen and how he ran his program. I learned a lot. There was a lot of confirmation that I would see that they're running the program the same way in a lot of respects that I ran it, so it gave me a lot of confidence that what we were doing was good. And but more than anything, I think I realized the need for a little bit of balance in life. And I think, part of my, probably, one of my downfalls is that I'm a little bit of a workaholic. And I think that, after 7 years at Rockwall, I just felt like, I needed to pass a baton to somebody. And, I go to Guyer and we make 2 long playoff runs at Guyer, and I just felt tapped out. I felt like, it would be, it's probably time for me to step out of coaching. And I think I've got gas in the tank. I love coaching. I want to continue to coach, but finding a little bit of balance. And I think I learned as an AD how to do that better.
You've made some incredible runs since you departed Rockwall. You mentioned the 2 Guyer journeys, and to think your final season at Rockwall, you made it to the state semifinal. Right. I mean, so, you always talk about how trials breed success, but how does success breed change as a coach? And what have you learned through some of those runs with Guyer? And have you maybe altered anything upon this return to Heath?
Well, I'm not going to say that it's really changed my philosophy, but it's reinforced the fact that it is a long season. Texas high school football, you're going to play 16 games. You're going to play 17 weeks. It's a long season. And so I just think it is so important to be playing your best football when you need to be playing your best football. You'll see a lot of teams throughout the regular season that they peak early. They'll peak in maybe week 4, week 5. And by the time the playoffs get there, they've driven the fun out of the game. And you'll see, so we played teams before in the playoffs that we probably shouldn't have beaten, but the kids on the field were tired of football, and that happens sometimes. And so one thing that I've learned is slow and steady wins the race, and you have to make it fun, and you have to coach your players so that during that time of the year that it is the most important to play well, that's when they're ready to play their best.
I love that.
So
I love that. And you've leaned on a lot of people through your career. It's about the mentors, right?
Sure.
But who's impacted you most throughout this run that you've had?
Oh gosh, there have been so many people that not many people have heard of. Guys that have been assistant coaches that never got their opportunity to be a head coach, that have they've got way more wisdom than I'll ever be blessed with. The person I would say probably that had the biggest impact on me is somebody that I just coached with for 1 year as an assistant, and that was Bill Patterson at Naaman Forest. I learned a ton from Bill just about management of people, approach to practice, approach to a lot. Joey Florence is another one. I never coached with Joey, but Joey and I have been friends. Joey's a Rockwall guy. Dad worked at Roy City for a period of time, so we've got connections through Rockwall County, and Joey's a guy that taught me a lot about just how to run a program. So those are a couple of guys that come to mind, but so many people along the way that I've tried to learn from.
Well, again, Aaron Hardigan always does a phenomenal job on those stories. And what a storyline or a timeline for Rodney Webb.
Yeah, look, you can't. It's not every day that you go to a town where there are 2 big high schools and you just cross the other side, right? Obviously, he took a little trip to go to Denton Guyer, and he's like, you know what? I think I'm going to be an AD, right? It's like he thought he was done coaching. He thought he was like, Highland Park. It's a great AD gig. He's going to get to oversee one of the top programs, most historic programs in the state. Yeah. And then I think just on the sideline, he's just like, I kind of miss doing the coach's thing. And so he was like, you know what, what's a job? I kind of want to get back to Rockwall. And it's like, well, I don't want to. Trey Brooks is doing a great job at Rockwall. I can't just come back and Dad's home, So he's like, there's an opening over here. I guess we're going to be rivals now. And it's kind of an old assistant now is going to be rivals for him. So, I mean, as we see here, taking a look in Longview and Lancaster. But, yeah, I mean, that's just an underrated storyline there for Rodney Webb, crossing the line there in Rockwall as Longview. Ooh, okay.
Hey.
Right there. Now increasing the lead.
Quarterback run.
Yeah, increasing the lead here. My goodness. I mean, look. I don't know what to say. I mean, look, Longview is really looking to try and put this game away. Lancaster, look, they really need this game. I can't stress enough how much they need this game. But anyway, I can't stress enough how much Lancaster needs this game, but Longview looking like they really don't care.
Well, okay, all right, yeah. So, a little bit of disrespect from Longview. I mean, they didn't do anything. They just ran it right up the middle.
I was about to say, it's like, look,
easy.
we gotta wait. We don't care if y'all need this win. We're here to take care of business, man. You guys came in. I mean, they didn't beat them last year, but they came in our house and put on a good show. We're coming into your house, putting on a good show as we're taking a look here at the Golden Triangle, and we'll take you into Silsbee and West Orange Stark directly.
And this has been a really clean football team for Wimberley all season long. And so, the turnovers were a little bit out of the ordinary for this team, but they've come out and just.
All right, how about that? Again, the Cruton corner was the top wide receivers. How about that? And just nice little tightrope act on it.
By the way, that is number 1, Draylon Miller right there, the 5-star Texas A&M commit. Ashton Cartwright, number 11, giving him some depth. I mean, look. This is a great test for West Orange Star. They're already better than what they showed against Silsbee last year, but there's no stopping that. When you just have Draylon Miller and you say, you know what, we're just going to go to him right now. Again, I believe Moshe still has not thrown an interception this year. I believe that's a 16th touchdown pass of the year. You got Draylon Miller one-on-one coverage. You're just going to say, yeah, that works for me.
Yeah. So, that's a really nice play. Again, that's kind of been the overarching thing. We saw Micah Hudson with a very nice catch earlier. I think I saw on a tweet, too, he had a lethal spin move on a wide open field.
Listen,
wide receivers sort of the theme tonight.
I was about to say, this 2024 class is a talented group of wide receivers. As you saw Greg Powers say earlier, we're just getting a little taste of the top 2 right now in Draylon Miller and Micah Hudson.
And we go back to this one. We saw Westlake growing their lead 17-7 over Lake Travis there in the third quarter, and believe looks like Lake Travis. Yeah, Lake Travis has the ball right now, trying to get toward midfield. Or no, I beg your pardon. That's
Westlake has the ball.
My mistake.
Paxton Land at quarterback. Of course, it's hard to fill in for somebody like a Cade Klubnik, right? 2-time, or I believe 3-time state champion, but 2-time starter on the state championship teams. Now at Clemson. But he's doing a pretty good job. I believe he has a UAB offer. Oh, almost threw a pick there as I was trying to compliment him. But yeah, has a UAB offer right now. His stock's going to continue to rise as Westlake looks to get back on track from those state title years. I believe last year 15-1. Of course, after going unbeaten the past couple of years, it's hard to take that one.
Yeah.
But you're not gonna look at that and say that Tony Salazar is doing anything less than an excellent job taking over for Todd Dodge.
Well, and like you talked about last time we checked into this game when Westlake got that last touchdown, you know that he's very happy with how this is going right now.
I was about to say, this is gonna be a very patient game.
Yeah.
And they're about to cross midfield, or they just crossed midfield offensively.
And you look at it, it's very balanced in terms of the total yards when you look at how they split it, rushing and passing.
Yeah, no, 100%. You look at, I think the thing I loved about this Westlake era, including the Todd Dodge era with Tony Salazar now, this isn't the Todd Dodge of old, right? At South Lake Carroll, throwing the ball around with Chase Daniel and Riley Dodge, right? This is a ground and pound team. You remember the Sam Ellinger team, right? This is a team that loves to control the ball and play excellent defense. Of course, and you have somebody like a Tony Salazar coordinating the best defense in the state, arguably going on 10 years now. Yeah. You're going to want to be able to play into the hands of the defense. And so you're not going to have an offense that's putting up numbers. Of course, when you have a Cade Klubnik or a Jaden Greathouse now at Notre Dame, who's going to be able to make highlight plays. Sure, yeah, you'll let it loose a little bit. But overall, this is a ground and pound team. Running backs, Nakia Watson, these are the kind of names that have come out of Westlake as opposed to the stellar wide receivers that we may kind of were used to seeing in the early 2000s under Todd Dodge.
So it's been a fun game, and again, looks like Westlake trying to maybe put it out of reach there in the third quarter.
It's a very patient game now. Oh my goodness, looks like Western Stark almost had a touchdown there off the fingertips, trying to get behind this Silsbee defense. Yeah, well, they're going to want that one back just off the fingertips there of the wide receiver.
Again, we got Lancaster and Longview. That's been a fun one. And just while we have just a brief moment, it might get yelled at for a second, but I need to give a shout out. It's homecoming for my alma mater, Trophy Club Byron Nelson. They've got a 42-26 lead over Keller Timber Creek. So I just want to give the Bobcats a quick shout out on that one for their homecoming game.
Listen,
so
I saw Byron Nelson in person earlier this year. That's a very, very good team they got this year.
All right, so I just want to get that in real quick. All right, now we're back to business. We got Longview and Lancaster now. They're in the third quarter, and again, Lancaster trying to get something going.
Yep, looks like they got a timeout, I guess, or I don't see a flag, so I'm wondering if it's
there's one right there on the right on the bottom.
Yeah, look, they're going to need to get going here. They're down now 17. I mean, look, this is a Longview team that with Taylor Tatum, they can. You want to talk about a team that loves to control the clock? Taylor Tatum will just gladly take 20 carries from now to the end of the game if he could. And so Longview is going to be, if Lancaster can't take advantage of this good field position and move the ball, score, whether it's a touchdown or field goal, probably want a touchdown at this point. Yeah. Longview is going to do something similar to Westlake, where it's like, you know what? Awesome. Give it to our awesome Oklahoma commit running back in Taylor Tatum, and we're just going to take it home. Because as we're seeing now, Lancaster gets the ball off, and just out of his hands. Again, they're going to need these passes to go their way.
It's a tough ask for the receiver there in double coverage, almost able to bring it in.
Yeah, I was about to say, went off his fingertips, so it wasn't exactly a badly thrown ball. Looks like they're about to punt here, though, and flip the field back to Longview. They're running out of chances to kind of afford these punts, I should say. They're probably looking to start going for it as the third quarter wanes on and this deficit kind of holds.
Yeah, so another good showing from Longview tonight. They are in control. We're getting into the last half hour or so. Games starting to come down to the wire. Some exciting games, some games not so much. We'll take a quick break. On the other side, we'll bring you more of the action as you're watching Dave Campbell's Texas Football Tonight.
There's only one state in the nation with 13 Division I FBS programs, and there's only one podcast that talks about every single one of them. Introducing the Dave Campbell's Republic of Football podcast, the most complete coverage of the Lone Star State. Join host Ishmael Johnson, Carter Yates, and Mallory Hartley live on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook on Wednesdays at 2 p.m. for the biggest news and weekly previews on all Texas FBS programs. Can't catch every college football game on Saturdays? We've got you covered with recap episodes Sunday mornings with senior writer Mike Craven checking in. Subscribe everywhere you get your podcasts, including Spotify and Apple. Strap in with your host Ishmael Johnson, producer Mallory Hartley, senior writer Mike Craven, and college writer Carter Yates for a ride that'll last from now throughout the season.
Need your daily football fix? Look no further than Texas Football Today, the daily live show from the people that bring you Dave Campbell's Texas Football. Every weekday at noon, Greg Tepper and Ashley Pickle bring you the latest news, deep dive analysis, insightful interviews with big-name guests, and more. And if you ever miss an episode, you can subscribe to the Texas Football Today podcast to keep up with all the fun. Don't miss Texas Football Today every weekday at noon at texasfootball.com, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch, and subscribe to Texas Football Today wherever you get your podcasts. Nobody covers Texas high school football like Tep and Step, the premium high school football podcast from Dave Campbell's Texas Football. Dig deep into the sport in every corner of the state with high school football insider Matt Stepp and managing editor Greg Tepper, with game previews, unique insights, and bold predictions. Get Tep and Step by becoming a Dave Campbell's Texas Football subscriber at texasfootball.com/subscribe.
We might not be good at many things, but there is one thing that we crushed, and that's naming a stinking podcast. WTF. Yes, it's exactly what you're thinking. Women talking football. Oh, you thought it meant something else? You might be right. Tune in every Thursday at 2 p.m. as me, Ashley Pickle, and everyone's favorite Mal pal, Mallory Hartley, bring you in-depth analysis of every region of the Lone Star State, talk ball with reporters across Texas, get the real scoop from coaches' wives, and all the other nonsense that comes along with the two of us being allowed to talk into a microphone. Join the party Thursdays at 2 o'clock on the Dave Campbell's Texas Football YouTube page.
Welcome back to Texas Football Tonight. We got more highlights rolling in as we'll take another look at this game. We have Cy Lakes and Cy Falls. We checked in on this one a little bit earlier, and it's sort of going one way. Let's jump into the third. That's LaShawn Washington takes the handoff, makes it look easy, 9 yards into the end zone. Cy Falls up 37-7 at this point. We jump ahead a little bit later into the third quarter and looks awfully similar, but this time it's going to be Chase Farrell going in motion. He takes the handoff up the middle, able to turn those legs in, and it's 44-7 in favor of Cy Falls. Still in the third, that's a bobbled snap, but they're able to fall back on it, or Cy Lakes quarterback able to get back on it, as it's a 44-7 lead into the third quarter. Staying into the third quarter, double coverage, and that's going to be picked off by Pharaoh Kennedy, and that sets up an Eagles touchdown, 51-7 Cy Falls.
All Cy Falls.
Oh, here we go. We got Kirbyville and East Chambers. This is one of our spotlight games, and
how about that?
Wow.
Jeez. Just threw it out. I couldn't tell if he was throwing it out of bounds or trying to just throw it up. It looks like it didn't matter.
Either way it worked.
He can just say he threw it up. He was throwing it into the end zone.
That's something at the end of the game when they ask you, oh, I meant to do that.
That's the Brian Scalabrine thing. He's like, 10 years from after the finals, I'm going to say I won MVP. You know,
yeah, there we go. And going back to this, so Westlake, they got a field goal last time we checked, so they're up 20-7, but Lake Travis marching down as we'll take you back into the stadium for that call.
No Hopkins out and Leon in.
He came. He's kind of jogged off the field after that pass. I think he took a hit, pretty good hit.
Well, now the line of scrimmage. It's 2nd and goal, but Cavaliers are at the 11.
First and goal from the 11-yard line.
So what happened there, Buck? They went the wrong direction. Here's Leon in at QB. Van Hopping to his left. Self, wingback left. Here's Munnerlin in motion. Leon fakes the handoff, looks to pass over the middle. It's caught! Touchdown! Josiah Thomas, his second reception of the season. 11 yards from Caden Leon to Josiah Thomas.
That was an up-tempo series right there.
Well, Lake Travis takes advantage, and they make it a very close game. They're in the fourth quarter. They make the extra point, and it'll be a 6-point game.
Yeah, they're making sure this deficit does not get away from them. They want to make sure that Westlake can't sit on this game, right? Yep. They're going to try to drain as much as they can on this next drive, but Lake Travis has the ability to move the ball. As we're saying, Lancaster here. Look at the top right here. This is the little jolt that they need.
A couple of guys to beat, trying to cut it back over to that far side, able to do so. He's got some blockers.
I was about to say, by the way, look at I love the non-blind side, making sure he's not using his hands so he can't get flagged. By the way, anybody watching at home, yes, that is an actual thing. You know, you can't block in the back or you can't blindside block. So the next best thing you can do is kind of just run with your hands up and impede the guy because you're technically not blocking him, but of course you are.
It's effective, yeah.
It's effective. It got him, it looks like 5 extra yards or so.
That gets Lancaster into Longview territory just outside the 20. So
I mean, this is a must touchdown drive right here. Like, I don't think they're going to want to go for a field goal here. I think they're going to need to get 6 or 7.
And see what they're able to pull off now after that big play. Again, just outside of the 20. Going to hand it off up the middle, able to stretch it down to the outside. So that's a good chunk play right there.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, look, they know that this is the jolt that they needed, right? This is a defense that's been seemingly keeping them in check in the second half. Of course, they put up 21 in the first half, but Longview's kind of figured them out a little bit. So, yeah, if you can get some yards any way you can, yeah, you're going to take it. So I think Leon Paul is going to try to pull out some stops here to probably feed Kawan Lacey as running back as the Nebraska commit here a couple more times to make sure they can get this in the end zone.
And they will hand it to Lacey, trying to follow the big men right up the middle, but that's a strong stop right there.
It's a physical defense for Longview.
Yeah, I think that was Kason Brooks, the junior linebacker, able to get through and make that stop.
Now third down, okay, third down and probably medium, right? I'll probably guesstimate there. So again, it looks like I don't want to say they've shut down Kawan Lacey because he had a good first down run. But, maybe you want to throw it a little bit, maybe a short yardage throw just to get the first down. And they're going to go with the
they
draw.
are going to hand it off.
And, Longview doing a great job up the middle. It looks like that's the one thing. Like Kawan Lacey was able to get the first yard gains on the outside, but Longview's big enough to be able to contend with Lancaster on the inside. So, yeah, that's a physical defensive line for John King's team.
I'm not sure. I thought I saw 24 being in the mix first. If that's true, that would have been Jameis Morrow, who was first to greet the ball carrier. But, yeah, like you said, you don't want to settle for a field goal here. So see what they're able to pull out. Lancaster is in their bag of tricks here in the third quarter. We got Zion Stewart, the running back.
They got a flag. I see it at the bottom there.
How is it on the defense, though?
Ooh. Encroachment.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow, on the defense. Oh, that's a huge penalty because I think that may give them a first, or at least make it really close to a first down for Lancaster.
And you see a couple of those Longview defenders, not too happy with the call, but that's going to move Lancaster up, so they'll be very happy with that.
Yeah, that looks like it is a first down. Looks like they're moving the chains there at the top of the screen. Yeah, first and goal. Wow, that's a backbreaker for Longview because that was fourth down. With the encroachment, of course, encroachment being the one that, they touch somebody on the other side, encroaching that line of scrimmage as opposed to offside. So see a rollout to the left and a wide open man
there. We go.
How about
Beautiful.
that play design? I wonder if Longview looked a little caught off guard there because that man was wide open. I believe that was Jaquavius Pimpkin. No, excuse me.
That's T-Eric Martin, I think,
yes,
number 0, yeah. So there's a big touchdown for Lancaster as we take you back now, Silsbee. And
Ashton Cartwright, how about that? Look, again, we mentioned Draylon Miller, and I mentioned how big of a fan I am of his counterpart on the other side. Ashton Cartwright right there. I believe his only offer right now is Prairie View. This is a kid who can play, man, as you see there. That wasn't an easy play to make. That was a catch and run. Tough catch, tough run. And look, you're not stopping both of those guys on any given night. Yeah. It looks like Silsbee pulling away from West Orange Stark now, about to go up double digits here in a big clash of Region 3 powers.
So we'll see Lancaster. Looks like they were able to get a score. We'll check on that a little bit later. We were talking about this one earlier in the show, La Porter and Barbers Hill, that one in the fourth quarter. We'll take you live on the call on that one.
As they turn the ball over on downs from the 25-yard line in Barbers Hill territory on a 4th and 3, coming up short on a Barnes run. But then the next two Barbers Hill drives, they got 2 interceptions, both in Barbers Hill territory, both leading to touchdowns. 1st and 10 from the 32. Pitch to the new running back, Bright. And Elijah Bright takes it to the 36, gain of 4. Maybe 5 as they give him forward progress to the 37. 2nd and 5 coming up, 7.5 minutes to play. There is a lot of time ticking off this clock. Barbers Hill only has 2 timeouts left. Handoff to Sandoff. Takes it to the 39-yard line. He only picks up 2. And here it is, big third down. Biggest third down of the night, biggest play of the night up to this point. Less than 7 minutes left, fourth quarter. 3rd and 3 for LaPorte from their own 39-yard line. Bright gets the pitch, cuts upfield. He's going to be very close. He's right at the line to gain. Line judge is right at the 42. The head linesman is at the 41.5. That should be enough. But they have to bring out the measuring chain.
Out for measure.
Let's see how close this is. I mean, it is really close. Oh, how close is this? He's a couple inches short. A couple inches short. Now what do you do if you're Kevin Bernathy? It's 4th and a foot from your own 42. You're up by 7 with 6:24 left in the game. And it looks like he's going to trust his offense to pick it up. It's the length of a football, if that. Handoff, first down for Brights. Too easy to the 44-yard line.
First down, Bulldogs.
There was no doubt where that ball was going. It was just a matter of who was going to get it. And it was Elijah Bright.
Wow, how about that? I mean, you just run it right up the middle. Second effort, able to do so. Yep. And we go back north, Crowley, Euless, Trinity. How about some more explosive plays from this North Crowley offense? We've seen it all night long.
They don't slow down, man. They just simply don't slow down. I'm trying to get a number on that. Is that number 6? Yeah, number 6. LaMarcus Davis, senior wide receiver. Chris Jemerson hitting him on the reception to make it 46. They're going to try to make it 47-24 over Euless Trinity now. Man.
That's, again, still a little bit jarring to see that.
Yep. As we're seeing here, oh, man, Cody Stover, look at that dime right there. Now it's 34, looking to go up even more over Lampasas. Wimberley really flexing their muscles here as one of the favorites out of the Central Texas area in the Class 4A, in the 4A classification. Again, just a team that was maybe a year young last year, and now everybody, or at least majority of the players, including Stover, back, as you're seeing, not as polished of a passer last year as he is now on that touchdown pass you just saw there. So yeah, Wimberley and Doug Warren's Texans looking to take, or are taking a commanding lead, I should say now.
Yeah, looking for back-to-back wins again. They got that 38-21 or 28 win last year against Lampasas, and yeah, I mean, tuned in at the perfect time. What a dot in the back of the end zone. So Wimberley, another impressive outing for them tonight. And we go back and, trying to see what Lancaster and Longview can do here in the third.
Longview's trying to hold on to this one as they give it to Taylor Tatum here. And hello. Give it to the Oklahoma commit and just say go. Oh, man, look at that. What did I say? Look, they're just going to they're not going to do anything crazy here. They're just going to give it to that guy. He's going to run right through the Lancaster defense, and they're probably like, oh, are you kidding me? I mean, look, this guy, Oklahoma commit, 40 total touchdowns on the year. Even last year when they had Jalen Hale, who was at Alabama, 5-star wide receiver, this was the guy that they ran their entire offense through. Over 2,000 yards for his career. He's a receiving threat as well, as you see, 250 yards receiving. He's, again, if you notice John King, right, even if his son Haynes King was quarterback, they run the ball first, right? They are a very, very prototypical under center, line it up and go type of offense, and you could tell that he loves the fact that he has a guy like Taylor Tatum back there. And if they're playing at AT&T, it's going to be because he has another sensational season this year.
That's an impressive run for Taylor Tatum, and he's been doing that throughout his career. As we get back into the quad box, see everything that's going on. Westlake and Lake Travis, that's been a fun game, as looks like Westlake has the ball right now there in the fourth quarter.
And you're seeing Longview just got a sack on the other end, taking down Lancaster. So it looks like Longview's really putting their foot down on this one after that Taylor Tatum touchdown. And Lancaster they might look like they may punt here, honestly. It looks like they're bringing the punt unit out at least.
Bring it back to this one. This has been a very fun one all night. Westlake with the ball, 6-point lead here in the fourth, trying to get something going on the outside, and the Lake Travis defense just swarming all over the ball carrier. And we'll take you into the call on that game.
4 on the play. That was well read by the Cavalier defense.
By 4 or 5 guys.
Clock moving. We're almost at the midway point of the fourth. Huge defensive play by LT to back him up. Now it's 2nd and about 16.
Yeah,
Westlake needs the 32 to pick up a first down. Line of scrimmage is the 17.
Yeah, your run should be going north and south if you got the ball now.
Wise fakes the handoff, throws the screen to the right side. Kaiser makes a man miss, and Boswell tackles him, but nearly a first down. All the way around the right side. Another missed tackle by Lake Travis.
Yeah, he just made a miss. Wow.
That was huge. That might be the play of the game. Westlake goes on to win this one.
My goodness. I mean, that was just a flat out. He made that young man just whiff.
That looked like Bijan the other day for the Falcons. But still, they were in position to make the play. There were a bunch of them there. That was huge. Cavaliers, Lake Travis needs a stop here on 3rd and 1. The handoff up the middle, hit, but forward progress is going to be a first down. And that's Jack Kaiser again.
By the way, nobody blocked anybody there. That was just him taking 2 guys with him by himself.
The kid is 5'7".
Right there you see Westlake just trying to melt clock there as we go. We got North Crowley, Euless Trinity. Again, talking about the North Crowley defense, that's where a lot of the star power is at. The offense has really been showing out tonight.
Yep. Oh my goodness.
All right, hey, okay, I'll give you. All right, hey, you're not wrong. That defense.
I believe that was Jonathan Cunningham right there, linebacker, showing a little bit of a spear to take the ball carrier down. That is filthy. Like, I don't know. I don't have another word for that. Yeah, Jonathan Cunningham, junior linebacker for North Crowley. Look, that's the kind of stuff that you'll see from this North Crowley defense. I don't know if exactly that is what I was expecting. That's what kind of made it really,
hopefully
really cool.
For
but
anyone else on their schedule, they hope they don't see that very often.
Hopefully that's not something that they're usually doing. But the strength and the speed of this defense is what you should expect to see. And stuff like that is possible, I should say, when you play North Crowley. So, I mean, and by the way, Trinity, should mention, they're a big team. Yeah. That's not like a 5'2", 130-pound kid from, a town of 12 people, right? Euless Trinity is a very, very big team. So the fact they're able to man up and match up physically is, geez, that was incredible.
Another game where the offense really showing out. Wimberley, 41 points on Lampasas. We take you back to this one. Lampasas trying to get something going wide open. A little tiptoe catch in the back of the end zone.
Yeah, look, I love that play design there. A little throwback action, roll out to the right, and man was wide open there. Lampasas. I should say, like, you look at the score and you'll be like, oh man, Lampasas, that's a letdown. It's like, sure, it may be a letdown in their eyes, but like, this is still a team off to their best start since 2020, right? Yep. They've had a couple years that weren't up to those standards when they were competing for regional titles and such. And Wimberley is still the state runners-up from last year in 4A, right? So you have to take that into account. Sure, this Lampasas team may not be to that caliber, which is okay, right? It's still early in the season as well. So this season, of course, goes past Thanksgiving as we're seeing. Oh, my gosh.
Just hand it off.
Oh, my goodness. This is, I mean, look. Oh, hit him with it. Let's go. I love that. I mean, look, Longview just flexing right now. Longview right now flexing, just absolutely running the ball. And this one, they're looking to get out of Dodge right now with a pretty convincing win. And Lancaster still struggling a bit, still looking for their second win of the year. And this is going to be a sour one, especially how close it was for so long.
Yeah, and then Longview just kind of escaping as we got LaPorte and Barbers Hill back here in the fourth quarter. Again, this has been a good one. They were able to convert on that 4th down, and they're slowly marching their way down the field. They're in Barbers Hill territory right now. Yeah,
this one's slowly. LaPorte is very okay with keeping this one on the ground and just letting this clock bleed out a little more.
And we'll take you to the call on that one.
A 3rd and 5 for the Bulldogs.
Big 3rd down here, fellas. 2.5 minutes to play. 3rd down and 5 from the 39. Sandoff and Barnes are in the backfield. They pitch it to Barnes. And he runs into an Eagles wall at the 37. And Carl Absek just took his second timeout. It is going to be 4th down and 4 from the 38-yard line. With 2:13 left.
2 minutes left in the fourth quarter, 21-28.
It's going to be interesting to see what LaPorte does here. They could go for it. They could go for the win. They could punt it, pin Barbers Hill deep. They turn it over on downs. They give Barbers Hill pretty decent field position. Just over 2 minutes left. Back in a moment. This timeout is always brought to you in part by the City of Katy. Small town charm, big city convenience.
Come enjoy the heart of Katy, Texas, one of the most delightful cities in.
And Kirbyville here taking their time, wisely so. To the far side goes Trent Jackson, making a cut. Look at Trent Jackson into the end zone. Touchdown, Kirbyville. It's Trent Jackson again with 3:31 left to play.
Touchdown Wildcats. Number 20, Trent Jackson.
And Trent Jackson, only a sophomore, the tailback for Kirbyville.
From the 38. They need the 34 to continue the drive and win the game, essentially. Biggest play of the night. Signs, hands off to Barnes, finds a hole, has a first down and more. Good night from Mont Bellevue. Touchdown, LaPorte.
No flag. Touchdown.
Wow.
Man, I mean, look, LaPorte was looking to drain the clock a little bit, and they just said, you know, we'll just take a touchdown. Yeah. We'll put this one on ice for real. Chase, you heard Chase, the birthday boy on the call there, saying they could have essentially iced it with a first down, but you know what, why not add the style points? I mentioned tiebreakers earlier today. These are things that matter when you're just starting district play. You don't want to have to worry about them late, right? Things like point differential, head-to-head, scores, touchdowns, right? Doesn't matter what the tiebreaker is. You want to figure out.
Do you have the opportunity at any point of the season? Might as well take it,
Sure.
because you don't want it to come down to the very end and kind of look back and start kicking yourself if you didn't really take full advantage.
Yep, and you saw just before we went back to the LaPorte game, you saw Kirbyville take a bigger lead, and yeah, I'm going to keep stressing. Trey Allen's team was 3-7 a year ago, right? 3-1 now against a team that was off to roughly the same start in East Chambers. Kirbyville now looking to take pole position potentially in that district. I mean, I can't talk about the turnaround that Trey Allen's team has done this year. Returned a lot of that offensive line from last year, and now the Wildcats are really putting themselves in position as we transition back to the Austin area, back to Lake Travis's. Westlake here, across midfield, looking to salt this one away up 20-14, handing the ball off, and how about the balance there to get a couple more yards? Might have picked up the first down. He did. They're going to move the chains, and it looks like Westlake's just very happy to continue to wind this one down.
Yeah, you like that by Kaser just to get a couple of extra yards right there on the second effort.
Yeah.
Yeah, just
That's
keep
probably
that.
the difference between the first down and you know, whatever the down it was going to be instead.
Yeah, so if they're able to get another touchdown, be another W in the win column for Westlake in this rivalry, where you talked about it earlier. It's kind of been Westlake's rivalry the last few years.
3 of the last 4, looking to make it 4 of the last 5, which, again, if you would have talked to somebody in 2012, or if you would have talked to Sam Ellinger, probably he would have been like, what? It's what? They're beating Lake Travis now? But, yeah, it just shows the shift. And really, kind of the shift is, you know, me being from Austin, it's kind of been the shift is the Austin area. And now that Westlake, I don't want to say Westlake has given up the title. They're still probably the most premier team in the Austin area. But last year, Vandergrift took over as kind of like that second-tier team, making the state championship against DeSoto in 6A D2. And now, you know, there's kind of maybe a shuffling at the top of the Austin area as we kind of take a look at the spotlight games around the state.
Longview kind of running away things against Lancaster. You've got the Westlake and Lake Travis game right now. Kirbyville 36-6 over East Chamber. Silsbee able to put up 20, a nice lead over West Orange Stark. And of course, we talked about Duncanville a little bit earlier. Not a whole lot of surprises tonight. Wimberley, a pretty good showing against Lampasas.
Yep. I mean, look, yeah, that Lampasas win, the Lampasas loss, I should say, is not going to get me side-eyeing that team anytime soon. Yeah. Wimberley, I think, looks like a team that's looking to get back to AT&T. I'm looking forward to a potential Wimberley-Silsbee matchup in the playoffs, right? That's going to be something that I think we missed out on last year when Silsbee lost to Cuero. So I think both those teams have their, you don't want to look too far ahead, but I know that some teams are looking, especially Silsbee, looking to get back to make up for those errors last year.
As we get back again, Westlake rather, trying to just get the rest of the game under control. So again, they're just steadily marching down.
We may not see another pass in this game.
And I wouldn't blame them. So yeah, 20-14 lead. Westlake looking to put this game on ice there in the fourth. Taking a timeout. While we have a timeout, again, another shout out, the Byron Nelson Bobcats, 63-26 lead over Killer Timber Creek. Again, during the homecoming game for Byron Nelson, a very good looking team. They're the Bobcats this year. But Westlake marching down the field, just kind of workmanlike performance, able to march it down and try and put up 6 more points and ice that game.
Yeah, in this district, as we're seeing, oh man, Lancaster looking to close the gap a little bit, right? Looks like he had a big gain here.
Well, you always want to go down with a fight. You don't want to just kind of lay down and let Longview put up those 52 points. You want to try and get some positives going into the next couple of weeks.
100%.
So Lancaster able to find the end zone late in the fourth quarter in that contest. We bring you back Westlake and Lake Travis. And again, why not just hand it back to 33?
Looks like an offside
we
jump.
are going to get a throw.
Looks like it was an offside jump, and just why not go for that one? You're going to get the 5 yards anyway. That was the one time they would throw the ball when they get them to jump off sides. This is, I should say, Westlake and Lake Travis is like, I believe it's District 26-6A, is one of the tougher districts in the state, right? Mm-hmm. Last year, Dripping Springs with Austin Novoside, who's now at Oregon, they're very much in the race. Dripping Springs, I believe, is 2-1 right now. Right now you have Austin Bowie, who 2-2, Austin Anderson at 2-2. Look, people kind of pencil in Lake Travis and Westlake, but the depth of this district is pretty interesting. 3 and 4. Everybody waits for this matchup every year, of course, but the 3 and 4 playoff spots, we'll see. I think Dripping Springs is good enough to make one of them even without Austin Novosad, but it's still not going to be as much of a guarantee as Westlake looks to just kneel the ball out here.
So there we go. That's another win for Westlake in that edition of the rivalry.
4 out of the last 5, so it's going to have to wait till next year when they go back to Westlake. This one, of course, wasn't Lake Travis. But, Nick, we're not going to sign off here just yet. All right, you got me earlier.
Yeah.
But I know that it's some people's birthdays around here.
No.
So how about that?
Hey, there we go.
Huh?
There we go.
Blaine Tatum right here. Yeah, a couple days ago, our assistant director here, Chase Snyder. Today we mentioned, and of course our very own Nick Lampasas coming up this week, y'all's birthday. So you got me. Well, we got you.
There we
go.
There
you go.
We're
back. There you go. Happy birthday. Happy early birthday.
Appreciate
and happy late birthday to Blaine, by the way.
Yes, and then, happy birthday to Chase. And again, he's spending the birthday right out there on the call.
We're all working on the birthday.
Exactly.
On the birthday
it's fantastic. Hey, shout out to all the September birthdays out there. It's been great. All right, well, thank you so much for that. Before we completely sign off, any final thoughts? I know we've kind of wrapped everything up, but anything else that kind of stood out to you tonight?
I mean, look, we're going to get from all around the state, right? Coaches are telling their teams the season starts today, right? Mm-hmm. You can talk about the non-district, you can talk about all that. Everybody's going to look at their record as 0-0. I've heard it before as a reporter, as a player, right? Every coach is like, doesn't matter until district, because that's the only record that matters when you look to get in the playoffs. So I'm excited to see where it goes from here, because now it's the nitty-gritty. All these matchups mean something going forward. If you didn't start district this week, you may have started last week, or you started next week. Regardless, now it all matters. So I'm excited for the rest of what's to come.
It was another fun week here on the desk. It was great having you back. A busy week for you. And again, thank you so much for joining us this week. For our producers, Ashley Pickle, Mallory Hartley, our director, Seth Biley, and for Ish Johnson, I'm Nick Lampasas saying so long and enjoy your weekend.